What happens when you combine Stardew Valley, Pokémon, and Slay the Spire? Well, with nothing but your wits, you'll traverse hazardous sky islands filled with battle-hungry spirits, conquer sprawling ancient dungeons for rare resources that let you farm, craft, and brew hallucinogenic potions, all to fulfill one true goal: decorate your house to impress the locals in hopes they'll marry you. Save the world? Yeah, we can do that too, but like, after. I played 100 Days of Moonstone Island, and here is what happened. Our journey begins at our parents' personal sky island, where our father, an ex-underground spirit fighter, has retired to a life of growing performance-enhancing crops. And by that, I mean forcing me, his son, into backbreaking labor. After cutting all his crops down for seeds and replanting them, he decides to gift me one of his old spirits, not from the goodness of his heart, but to watch them brutally battle to the death for his own entertainment. As a Digimon kid, it really is a no-brainer. Why would I pick a sheep or a bee when I could pick a fucking dinosaur, who we name Guilmon? We quickly dispatch the wild spirit on the farm by hitting him so hard he loses all his armor, becomes dizzy, and can't fight back. Then we rip his throat out with our bare teeth, and our father relishes in the blood. Thankfully, our mother calls us inside, and seeing how tired we are, feeds us one of her strange alchemical creations before gifting us a medallion. This will hold 3 spirits at a time, including Guilmon, who has leveled up from his battle. Life on our parents' farm is a never-ending nightmare, but thankfully, as an alchemist in training, we're leaving on our broom tonight. We'll be spending an entire year away from home in hopes of graduating into a fully fledged alchemist, and after that year is up, we'll even be graded on our performance. So as I stand on the edge of the Sky Island, moments from potentially plummeting to my death, I decide I want to see and catalogue every single spirit in the world, potentially forming an army to overthrow the government. Before I can even say goodbye, my father promptly boots me off the island, laughing maniacally as he does. Sadly, this causes me to lose my way. It quickly gets dark and I become exhausted, passing out still on my broom, but thankfully and coincidentally landing on the exact Sky Island I'm meant to move to, Moonstone Island. Meeting the townsfolk will have to wait because land might be the wrong word, as it's more of a crash, causing my broom to be smashed, lose all my tools, and give me severe brain damage. I scurry around in the dark trying to find my tools, but end up mostly just picking some flowers before passing out from blood loss, and while I am excited my journey has begun, I can't deny it's off to a rocky start. We awake in a strange bed covered in blood, shit, and dirt, which strangely not the first time this has happened to me. Staggering outside, it appears we're in the local tavern. I try to ask a goth girl where I am, but she tells me my clothes are weird and to fuck off. I leave the tavern and a drone immediately smashes into the side of my head holding a letter from my mother. She says since I broke my broom, I'll be forced to travel by balloon until I can afford a new one. She didn't even include the balloon though, just a piece of paper with a circle on it and the word balloon. I check my other mail and find a letter saying that forming an army of spirits to overthrow the world government is actually illegal, so there goes half of that idea. Not wasting any time, we head north out of town to collect our missing tools, begin collecting wood, and place down our tent. It's not much, but hey, it's home. Needing stone, I break open the closest rock and immediately find a mine shaft. This is filled with stone, iron, copper, treasure, and of course, evil bloodthirsty spirits who will murder you and eat your flesh without hesitation. Like this cute little fox. Our first real battle is on. We quickly beat the fluff fox within an inch of its life and tell him he better join us or else, and begin shoving flowers down his throat, which quickly makes him agree. Welcome to the team. And while he was very agreeable, the worm we meet deeper in the cave, not so much, and after refusing our offer, we prove to the rest of the spirits watching that we aren't fucking around. Inside a chest in the first cave, we find a sprinkler recipe, which will come in very handy when we take over our father's performance-enhancing crop business. While daydreaming about all the plants we're going to grow, we're ambushed by a cool slime and our Fluffox's brother out for revenge. They kill Guilmon and nearly Fluffox, who was on 1 HP, but thankfully we managed to flee. Exiting the mine shaft, we find it's already night, so we craft some cloth and turn that into a balloon. We start a small farm to grow more spirit-taming flowers and head off to look for one of the most important resources in the game, moonstones. Only 1 moonstone will spawn on each island, and they're often hidden, but thankfully at night they do glow, and because the town is actually 3 islands connected, we find 2 quite easily. I also bump into a weirdo named Zed walking around by himself at midnight. He says he wants to see my clothes up close and that he runs the local science center, so I should drop by to help with his research. Alone in the dark, I'm worried about what he'll do if I say no, so I quietly nod and run away, finding myself at the top of Moonstone Mountain. I look out over all the sky islands I'm yet to visit and decide on my second goal. Alongside cataloging every spirit in the world, I want to visit and conquer every island in 100 days. Day 3 begins with massive progress. We head into town and meet the local pink-haired buff blacksmith Farah, who immediately begins negging me, saying I'm cuter than she expected an alchemist to be, then tricks me into agreeing to bring her copper. I gift her some from my inventory and she looks at me like I'm an idiot before explaining I had to sell the copper to her. So I sell her 10 alongside the gems I found in the cave, and we're rewarded with a furnace recipe. Before we leave, she asks if I have my eyes on anyone in town, which confuses me because I'm I'm looking right at her. We head home to begin deforesting the entire north of the island to build furnaces, but bump into Quill, a local purple-haired himbo blocking the bridge. Busting out my small talk, I ask him if he's enjoying the weather, which he seems to take well, so I simply just ask him the same thing again. This goes over even better, so I ask one more time, and sadly, that really bothers him. Once back at our tent, we collect some resources, build our furnaces, and begin smelting. While we wait, we head to the south of town to visit a local talisman shrine. These are scattered across the entire map with one on each island. When you visit them, you pick a talisman that either adds a card to your spirit's deck, removes one, or upgrades one. Looking for rarer cards, I decide to focus on adding new cards for the time being, which, spoilers, will turn out to be a monumentous mistake. With that done, we decide to leap off the edge of the island into the abyss with nothing but a small balloon to hold us up. We drift for a while, and as my hands begin to slip, I start to think, gee, I hope there's an island out here. Thankfully, there is a tropical beach not far away. The first thing we do upon arriving is touch a strange pillar that teleports us across the map to a new island, where we are prompted by a warning explaining the spirits here are much stronger. As I finish reading this, something resembling your mother's bush charges me, so I flee back through the pillar, where we threaten a cute innocent gecko named Snorko. He joins the team and we learn how to toggle fast mode for battles. We spend some time destroying sandcastles and plundering the pristine island's natural resources, but are quickly jump scared by a horrifying beast. A strange house on chicken legs wearing a giant wizard hat charges us. Lacking any self-preservation whatsoever, we head inside and meet the magic man Waldo. Speaking in broken English, he explains the world is in grave danger, but he can't remember how, because his memories have been physically shattered and spread throughout the world, which we now have to retrieve. A lot to ask for a guy you just met, but I'm not about to say no while stranded in a man's chicken house in the middle of nowhere, because of the implication. He sells us some cards and a new cleanse talisman before kicking us out, directly into an ambush. This cute little elephant with a flower pot has summoned the Ocean Avengers and we're about to fucking die. Thankfully, we managed to bash the starfish and sandcastle, giving them both brain damage and making them unable to fight, but sadly Gilmon and Snorko are immediately killed. This does give us enough time to convince the starfish to switch sides, murder the sandcastle, and now that he is all alone, the elephant quickly submits to our rule. With our medallion full, both spirits go to the local science center, which means that weirdo in a lab coat will get his wish of us visiting soon. We wake up and immediately begin crafting sprinklers. The good news, these cover all 8 tiles around them by default, but bad news, they cost an entire copper and iron, so we can only craft a few. Heading back into our mine, it's already completely out of ore, and this will never respawn, which means we need to find a new mine on a different, more dangerous island. And don't worry, eventually even that will run out. If you thought gaming was an escape from the real world disasters, Moonstone Island has another idea. I decide rather than crafting more sprinklers to instead upgrade my hammer to make mining easier. So I go to visit the pink-haired succubus who immediately hits on me. Ignoring her, I sell 3 iron ingots to finish her quest, and I'm rewarded with a recipe for an anvil, which is used to craft special protective charms that I will totally use and not forget about. We upgrade our hammer to copper tier and run away before she flirts with us again. In my hurry, I accidentally bump into Osino, the local tavern owner who rescued me on day 1. She gives me a recipe for a cell crate and asks me to ship her some stone, because her basement is broken. After spending so much time with Farah lately, I assume this is a euphemism, but can't be sure because she says not to ask any questions. Thankfully, I wore my pervert repelling cologne today, which is actually just the fact that my tent doesn't have a shower. But hey, it helps me visit Zed and turn in my spirit research. He gives me nearly $4,000 for just seeing 15 spirits, catching 4, and I think that symbol is killing, but it looks like something else. And with Zed's smile, I'm leaning towards the something else. I use the money to quickly upgrade my watering can and officially run out of copper. I decide to spend some time meeting the rest of the townsfolk who are a bit strange, such as Ophelia, a childless MILF who can somehow through sheer force of will, float. And while looking for the rest of the town, I stumble into what is our first dungeon. Full of deadly traps, evil bloodlusted spirits, and mazes designed to force you to pass out, these dungeons are on nearly every single island, and while the puzzles are fairly easy— shit, crap, ow, okay, cut that. The spirit battles can be quite brutal if you're not prepared. At the end of every dungeon, there is a fierce and deadly guardian, each with their own ability depending on the island. This jolly green giant, for example, will add more armor to himself every turn, making it harder to concuss him. But it won't stop us from trying. We spend a few turns bashing away and manage to concuss him finally, do some damage, but sadly he sets up to kill Snorko. Quickly, I activate Rage on Gilmon to do extra damage, but also take more damage in the process. Thankfully, before he manages to, Gilmon follows up with a massive tackle, destroying the boss. For our effort, we're rewarded with levels for everyone, a memory shard for Waldo, and blueprints for a calendar and a greenhouse, which will come in very handy. We go to leave, but find a Timu Deku tree in the next room that, when activated, boosts our stamina. This really is Babby's first dungeon, so it wasn't too bad, but my goal is to complete all 30 of these before my 100 100 days are up, and trust me, they get much more difficult. We head home and start to smelt our moonstones into bars, an incredibly difficult decision because 3 stones to a bar is brutal, especially when these are finite and don't respawn till the new season. But we'll need them for not just our greenhouse, but also a special crafting bench named the Moonstone Enchanter. Finally, we use almost all our iron on the cell crate for Osino and send her our rock-hard stone before passing out in bed. It's a rainy day 5, and we're woken by a letter telling us to collect every type of seed we can in spring, deliver them to local plant conservatory who will propagate them and sell them back to me all year round. Immediately, this becomes another goal: collect every seed for every single season. But that will have to wait. Instead, we leap into the abyss and drift off into the unknown and immediately find a strange temple. Waldo appears and explains this is the Spring Temple, a sacred place that has been corrupted, and tasks us with fulfilling the temple's offerings and subduing the angry spirits in order to bring balance. A lot to ask for a guy you just met, but sure. The first offering is a cattail and stone fruit, 2 plants that we already have on us. Upon entering, we're met with a massive concave of roots and leaves that dwarf us entirely. Before we can think, we're ambushed by a log with a face, who we breeze past easily, being rewarded with a thick rod of growth that allows us to grow any plant we want near immediately at the cost of our own life force. Blocked by another offering table, this time the temple requests a heavy toll, the final copper and iron we have. We submit and then use our rod to grow ladder seeds and progress even deeper. The second and third fights we come across are far stronger. We barely manage, but are able to slowly chip our way through, using lily pads to heal where we can. Sadly, it's all for nothing though. Reaching the final offering, we're blocked as we don't have the clay or moonstone required to pass. Retreating for now, we continue to explore and accidentally stumble across an island that reminds me of my room as a teenager, dank, smelling of sulfur with visible green gas floating through the air. Here we are lucky enough to find a new mine, but while plundering the earth for its natural resources, we're ambushed by a gang of emo mushrooms stronger than us. We try to fight, but we're barely putting a dent in them when they begin to stack endless poison on us. We try to flee, but it's far too late, Gilmon being the first to die, followed quickly by Fluffox and Snorko. We awake covered in blood, sweat, and something else salty in a strange man's bed. Not the first time this has happened to me, and likely won't be the last. Sadly, the man refuses to talk to me, and upon leaving the giant chicken house, it vanishes. Having learned our lesson, I immediately rush back to the cave we died in to collect more ore. While yesterday was traumatic, it does seem like we've learned something, as now spirits lower level than me appear to run away, which helps to avoid dangerous fights, but far more importantly, shows me exactly who to pick on. Come here, you little pussy. You scared? Snorko is practically grinding spirits up for food at this point, so he deserves a new name. We dub him Gilgamesh the Destroyer, and back at base we smelt up our new riches, build more sprinklers, a calendar for our tent. I mean, look at that, that's nice, right? It's almost a home. And while we wait, I check my mail where I find recipes for a spirit barn, nest, and stalls. Once we build a Moonstone Enchanter, we'll be able to store more spirits, but also hatch spirit eggs. I'm very excited for this, but spoilers, my lovely viewers, this excitement will not last and is in fact the beginning of how I lose my sanity in this story. That will come later. For now, we head back and invest the whopping 3 iron, 3 copper, and 1 moonstone bar to create our enchanter, where we realize we don't just need more moonstone for the greenhouse and spirit barn, but also to repair our broom and eventually make a glider. Feeling overwhelmed like any true hero, I decide to go to bed and tackle that tomorrow. Day 7 begins with us absolutely destroying the natural landscape around us. Sorry, but we need this wood to help capture and domesticate the local wildlife. We place down our barn, but we realize we need even more wood and fiber to craft the stalls and nests, so destroy the remaining trees. I've seen Lord of the Rings enough times to know that I should replant them, so I do that before placing down a poison, earth, and water egg. We've used all our energy already today, so I decide to take a stroll through town. We meet Paolo, who seems nice enough, but I'll never forgive him for what he did to Rachel and Phoebe. Then, after getting lost, which is impressive for a game with a map, I find a whistle that allows me to teleport to this statue just once per day. I think I was probably meant to find this sooner than day 7. Apparently the entire town vanishes on Sundays, so I can't find a single other person until stumbling across the town's hot spring, and despite having never met before, Cleo and I have an amazing first impression while half naked. And by that I mean, we didn't speak at all, and she simply stared at me while I bathed. I head to bed and feel taunted by the summer of day 7. If I want to beat every dungeon, every temple, and catalog every single spirit in under 100 days, I need to work much harder. Setting off early on day 8, we managed to upgrade our axe without being sexually harassed for the first time. We drop off our research to Zed and transfer the spirits we tamed from his storage into our barn. This is incredibly important as now they can produce spirit resources such as clay, which we need to enter the spring temple, or sea glass, which we also need a lot of to craft the greenhouse. I drift to a nearby island and stumble across a warp totem and decide to use it because, hey, what could go wrong? I get distracted collecting poisonous plants and I'm immediately ambushed, cornered, and killed by 2 walking shrubberies and some sort of inbred royal bird, which I'll now call Charles. If I was worried about progress last night, I am terrified now. We wake up with Waldo leaning over us far too close for comfort and rush out of his house before nearly immediately dying to a pack of poisonous spirits. Somehow we manage to survive and flee the island, but stumble into a far scarier dungeon. Thanks to a stunning lack of self-preservation, I decide to enter, and as we make our way through the dungeon's traps, we're quickly caught in a very dangerous fight against 3 sentient clouds, one of which is an elite. To make things worse, I haven't healed, so half my team is on 1 health. Unable to bash, tame, or defeat anyone on turn 1, I'm absolutely going to die if I don't do something. So while checking if I can heal my team, I realize I might be able to feed the poisonous plants I've collected to the enemy spirits. I heal up and decide if I can survive a few rounds to try it. Sadly, Gilmon is dead again, but with Fluffox and Gilgamesh alive, we might have a chance. Gilgamesh sets up regeneration, and we take out a weakened Claudio before watching as Fluffox dies horrifically. Gilgamesh quickly takes out the other Claudio on his next turn, but we're still stuck with the elite who has 5 times his health. You might have more health than us, but Gilgamesh is full of spunk and vinegar, and sadly this doesn't help next turn when he has his head caved in, concussing him and making him unable to use any cards. It's now or never. I begin force feeding poisonous plants to the spirit that lowers his vitality and power, allowing us to tank 1 more round of attacks, before Gilgamesh awakens, bloodlusting, and destroys the elite in 1 attack. Holy crap, I get why Dad farmed all those plants now. Learning from the valuable lesson, I heal up my team and feed them plants to boost their vitality and power before heading to the boss, which goes incredibly smooth because I realize even the boss will eat poison right from your hand. We're rewarded with another memory shard, more stamina from the Timu Deku Tree, and we're feeling unstoppable. Except I can't shake the nagging feeling that Gilmon is dying far more than the others. But that's probably not my fault. After all, I leveled up all of his power and speed and didn't level up any of his health or armor whatsoever. That said, to make things worse, every talisman I find I do use to add more cards to his deck, and thanks to his low level, it does mean we're bloating our deck with incredibly weak cards. It's going to be a long and difficult road to save him from my early mistake, but I want to stand side by side with Gilmon on day 100 knowing we did it all together. In fact, I'm so attached I even drew the little guy. If you want to sketch along, I'll be drawing other spirits throughout the video as well. It's gotten late, so I try out our new whistle, and with only 60 seconds to spare, barely make it to bed. We wake up feeling unstoppable on day 10, deciding to upgrade my hoe and farm some new poisonous seeds, but sadly, while trying to go just about my day, I'm once again objectified and harassed by a pink-haired demoness. I buy my hoe, plant my seeds, and go to feed our spirits, where I also collect our first spirit resource, which is actually just spirit poo. This time, it's glass. We need 10 for the greenhouse, so I give the water spirits a few drops of laxatives in their feeders and hope for the best. With a few more moonstone under my belt from my explorations, I go to build a broom, but I'm quickly stopped when I realize I could just skip straight to the far better glider. So I drift off into the unknown to find more moonstone for that and hopefully a dungeon, which we do. But I'm so stupid that I spend the entire day lost in a maze designed for children, and I'm forced to whistle home before achieving absolutely anything. If day 9 was a day of progress, then day 10 was certainly a day. We're woken up early by a horrific screeching coming from the barn. Apparently our eggs have hatched, giving us a new fox, a small sandcastle, but what I'm most excited about is ribbed for your fuck it, call it ribeye, the poison spirit. Poison has been the bane of my existence, so we level ribeye up to max power to boost damage and give him 7 poison cards before swapping him out for Fluffox. This will be the last time you see this little guy. I head back towards the maze dungeon, and thanks to some quick thinking yesterday, I used a ladder plant, so I was able to get right back to the end of the maze. I was nervous for this dungeon, but Ribeye and Gilgamesh absolutely demolished it without a second thought. Of course, we're rewarded with more moonstone, some crafting recipes, another memory shard, and more stamina. While looking for the final chest, we tame a new spirit who, to use an Australian saying, is built like a brick shithouse. Hoping he'll poo out clay for us, we send him to the spirit barn. And after spending 6 hours in this dungeon, we find the secret teleporter hidden under this tiny little rock. But it was worth it because the chest contained the final moonstone we need for our glider. Excitedly, we hurry home, but sadly we're out of iron and wood and, well, everything else. I decide to try buy some iron bars from the forge, but it's closed because the pink-haired vixen needed a beer. I decide to confront her, but before I can, she objectifies me. Oh man, I was all ready to fight, but now I can't even make eye contact with her, damn it. I head home to feed my spirits, and I'd love to do this automatically, but here we are. Our prayers are answered on the morning of day 12 though, as Zed sends us an auto-feeding stall for the barn. However, it requires an entire moonstone every time it's crafted. I upgrade my scythe, and because I'm impatient, spend 2,000 gold to buy an iron bar to finish off our glider, but forgot I had to smelt the moonstone into a bar as well, which takes 5 hours. I think I deserve this for spending 2 grand on a single iron bar though. I drift south on my shitty balloon to look for moonstones and stumble across a poisonous island with a dungeon. Before I can enter, Waldo's aggressive house charges us. Inside, I go to give him his memories back, but he cuts me off to ask if I'd like to eat his trail mix. Ignoring that, I hand over the memories, which he thanks me for and promptly kicks me out. We maneuver through the dungeon's falling platforms, spiked veins, and traps all the way to the boss feeling incredibly confident spent after our last few dungeons. But all of that vanishes when on the first turn the boss applies so much poison that Gilmon is killed instantly. Oh god, I'm gonna cry. I try to stack my own poison, heal up, and even manage to get that regeneration off, but it's not looking good. I struggle for a few turns, desperately trying to lower the enemy's stats with Nightshade and other poisonous plants, but eventually we lose, wasting the entirety of day 12. Things aren't looking good for our goals, Waldo, or the entire world at this rate. At this point, waking up in Waldo's bed is beginning to feel quite natural, and that's not a good thing, both because of the collection of cylindrical vegetables he keeps next to it, and because I crave progress. I decide to charge right back into the dungeon, but before I can, Rowan, the local shopkeeper, sends me a letter saying they want me to enslave spirits for everyone in town, and that he's organized for the entire town to mail me their requests. A lot to ask for a guy you've never met, but sure. Back inside the dungeon, I feed Gilmon a cleanse talisman to remove his weaker tackle cards. I feed my entire team performance-enhancing drugs and enter the fight. I immediately force feed the enemy's mandrakes, which lower their power stat, meaning their poison stacks are far weaker, and that allows our poison to outpace them. The fight is tough, we take a lot of damage, but with careful strategy, we manage to destroy the boss without any losses. I immediately whistle home to make my glider, but get distracted dropping off some seeds. Will we ever make this glider? Yes, right now. Oh my god, it's so good, I love it. Looking at my quest, it seems that my mother is upset with me for skipping the broom, but I am quite used to disappointing women at this point, especially my mother, so that doesn't bother me. Using the glider, we head further than ever before, where we find a small island that tases my balls every few seconds for fun. I don't mind it, honestly. Here we collect a few new electric plant seeds and tame a dumb-looking snake called a som. I realize it's getting late, so I go to whistle home and... oh, I've already whistled today. Oh shit. This is bad. Not just because passing out so often is getting embarrassing, but every time we do, we actually lose hours and hours of the next day. I begin to rush home, but we're stopped by a terrifying and special phenomena, a psychic storm. These happen once a night at a random island in the game, and they're packed with incredibly powerful, dangerous psychic spirits and overpowered plants to harvest. Sadly, both are incredibly rare to spawn, even inside the storm. Oh, there's one. But they're also incredibly difficult to defeat. Oh, it's dead. Okay, well, at least they're difficult to tame. Oh, I got him. That was easy. All right, well, fuck you too, I guess, game. With only a few minutes to spare, I rush home on my glider, and I do make it back to the island base. Sadly, I pass out in the worst spot imaginable, right in front of Zed's house. Excited, I wake up early on day 14, and despite not agreeing to help Rowan at all, Paulo tells me he wants a spirit. I promptly ignore him and rush to Zed's to grab our new psychic friend, but sadly, it says he won't be open until 7 AM tomorrow. So I head home to build a greenhouse, but we need iron, moonstone wood, and a lot of sea glass. So instead I expand the barn a bit, plant all our seeds, and head out to explore. Stopping by an electric island, Waldo jump scares us again, but I hand over his memories either way and give him a bolt fruit thinking he probably likes spicy foods. I have to admit I love all the island types we've found so far equally, but the electric island really does have the least annoying sound effect. Right, guys? Oh my god, I have to leave. While mining on a nearby poison island, we stumble across a mine, which is great because we are once again out of iron, and our new rock smash ability I unlocked a few nights ago works instantly. God, that is satisfying. We whistle home, throw our iron on the fire, and head to bed feeling productive. Checking the barn early on day 15, I find one of the spirits pooped out a little bit of clay. I pick this up barehanded and decide we tackle the spring temple. But first, sorry Ribeye, you've been great, but we're reassigning you to the barn so we can get our psychic friend Posho. Moonstone in one hand, clay in the other, we head straight to the temple and it lets us pass. Before we know it, the angry tree from Kirby's Dream Land appears and attacks us. Gilgamesh, being the terrifying beast he is, immediately takes out the adze in one turn, which also stops the boss from attacking. We begin removing his armor, but don't manage to get through it before his adze return and the boss promptly one-hits Posho. What the hell? I thought you were OP! Enraged, Gilgamesh once again destroys the adze in one turn, while Gilmon takes out the last of the boss's armor so we can start whittling him down. We draw Soak, an incredibly powerful card that hits every enemy 3 times for 14 damage, but can't play it this turn, so we use Patience to place it at the top of our draw pile. Next turn, the boss resummons his adze, so we begin enraging Gilgamesh and play Soak for 28 damage 3 times, expecting it to hit the boss for a massive 84 damage, but realize the boss doesn't take damage if he has adze out. With Gilmon and Gilgamesh both enraged, they take far more damage and are suddenly within range of being one hit by any enemy. We try our best, but can't finish the boss off on this turn, and he lives on just 5 HP, resummoning his adze, and hits us both, taking us down to 4 HP each. Still enraged and bloodlusted, Gilgamesh pops Riptide, which I thought was going to kill, but I miscalculated and they survive. It's all looking lost. All we can do is pop regeneration and hope to tank the next round of hits. which we somehow do. Gilmon heals up, pops a rage on Gilgamesh, who takes the ads out in one hit before diving headfirst into the boss, killing him. With a flash of light, we're rewarded with the Earth Seal. Waldo appears, thanking us, and says some cryptic things I don't care about, before we level up our heroes, not you, and whistle home to sleep for the night, having conquered the Spring Temple with half the season left to go. It's another rainy day today, which makes the local drone crash directly into our head. Bleeding and a bit dizzy, it's a letter from Osano containing a new cookbook and several recipes to build an entire kitchen. As soon as I open the cookbook, I am overwhelmed, so I close it. A new goal will be to learn how to cook, but for now, I go to feed my spirits. Okay guys, I didn't bring enough food for everyone, so you miss out. Our goal is still the greenhouse right now, so I decide to island hop and hunt down as many moonstones as I can. I've never flown to the right before, so I do my best to pretend I hate women and head off. After hopping between a few islands, I realize the medallion at the top left shows how much stronger the spirits are around me. But I figured this out far too late as I'm ambushed by a fishbow and his two goons, who are all far higher level than me. I resign myself to an early death as Poxial and Gilmon are killed, but surprisingly, Gilgamesh manages to not just tame the strange looking fishbow, but actually defeat the other two entirely alone. We whistle home with 5 new moonstones, and before we head to bed, I decide to invest in Poxial by doing the ultimate risk. I name him. This will either make him amazing or forever terrible. So I'd like to introduce to all of you, Fat Joe, the Fairy Princess. I also give him a few talismans to upgrade his deck, focusing on cards that give or double the energy and card draw. This is truly the beginning of Fat Joe's warrior journey. I head to bed with literally seconds to spare and forget to smelt my moonstones. While we wait for our moonstones to smelt so we can make our greenhouse, I destroy what's left of the local flora and use it to double my barn's store capacity. With iron to spare, we're going to also face our most dangerous foe, upgrading our hammer without falling for the pink-haired succubus and her lies, which is getting harder and harder as this time she convinces me to give her an iron bar for free. On my way home, I try to save Fishbow from whatever torture Zed calls research, but find out he is too high of a level for the barn. Sorry little guy, looks like you're dealing with cock and bowl torture a bit longer. I meant to head home and make the greenhouse I've been so excited about, but for some reason, and I genuinely don't know why, I fly off the edge of the island and go to a thunder dungeon. My hubris knows no bounds though, because Gilgamesh is practically carrying our team and this is his weakest element. Thankfully, Fat Joe the Fairy Princess is now doing amazing. His ability to constantly draw new cards, add energy, and then triple that energy is making us unstoppable. We fight our way to the boss and watch as Gilgamesh survives the first round for the first time in the entire dungeon. Don't worry though, because he dies on the second turn. And the boss goes down on the third thanks to Gilmon and Fat Joe, who are turning into an amazing team. This dungeon is supposed to be our level and we breezed through it. Fat Joe has really turned this run around. I go to whistle home but decide I have time to check the island next over for Moonstone, and what do you know? A psychic storm. Oh dude, the magic hats are awesome, I want one. Sadly, we weren't able to tame them this time and instead collect psychic seeds while murdering the undeniably cute and innocent spirits. Don't feel bad, they dropped an Evo stone which I had no idea existed and has got me very excited. So excited that I get distracted and whistle home far too late. There is no way I'll make it home tonight. I'll pass out in the woods and lose hours tomorrow. So in a last-ditch effort, I decide to check the tavern, wondering if I can use their beds, and I can. Falling asleep happily, I upgrade my spirit taming overnight, which means tomorrow we can save Fishbow. Leaving the tavern on this beautiful morning of day 18, I stretch, yawn, and immediately I'm assaulted by a drone. It explains to use the Evo stone, a spirit must be level 32, and then bond with the alchemist. Boils and ghouls, we have a new goal. Evolve Gilmon and our main team. We also get a letter from Zed about an ancient hot spring ritual. He says to bring something of value as an offering to the spirit of spring. Sure, I guess. Heading home, we clean up the spirit poop and realize we finally have enough glass and moonstone to build our greenhouse. So we build that. Or we would, but I also need 100 more wood, so I start chopping trees and hate it. So I decide to upgrade my axe, and while doing that, somehow this terrifying beast convinces me to upgrade my watering can and gift her a copper bar by smiling at me. Damn it. We finally save Fishbow from Zed, collect the wood we need, and build a small bridge to place our greenhouse on this little island. I'll need more sprinklers to prep it, but for now, our home is starting to come together, so I decide to place down some paths as well. Oh, this is looking great. That's a nice boulder. As always, I'm in desperate need of iron, so I head off to go mining, and after spending hours underground, I pop out directly into a psychic storm. Unfortunately, there are no spirits or plants for some reason, and this distracts me long enough that even though I whistle home, I can't even make it to the tavern and pass out in the middle of town. I'm feeling a lust for blood on day 19, as you do, and decide to tackle dungeons today. After some errands, we fly south to an electrical dungeon that is far higher level than our team, and before we can even hunt down the chest, we stumble across the boss who is level 21. I expect Gilgamesh to lose here, and while Fat Joe is stronger now, he only has 12 HP, making him very likely to be one hit. However, on our first turn, we manage to concuss both enemy minions while Gilgamesh tanks an insanely strong attack from the boss, before paying them back by destroying both adds in one turn. From there, Fat Joe begins to absolutely destroy the boss, using armor armor-destroying cards, free psychic blast, bonus energy, all while Gilgamesh slowly heals the entire team. We're rewarded for this absolute massacre with our stamina boost, a memory shard, and quickly head back to the dungeon to collect the missing chests, where we're met with the hardest puzzle. 6 rocks in a row. We barely make it past, and then we're met with yet another 6 rocks in a row. What the fuck? As I go to leave, I realize there is an option to pick up chests, and it works. This means I've wasted nearly a dozen iron bars building my chests back at the base when I could have just stolen these cooler ones from the dungeons. Wanting to use less food to survive on the other islands, I decided to finally craft a charm, which are incredibly expensive but help me resist the hazards such as the lightning. I also loved putting these paths down, so I decided to build a decoration station, and upon opening it, I'm immediately overwhelmed. We can do that later. I've collected seeds from basic, poison, electric, and psychic islands this season, but I'm missing a few still, so I decided to try go further than we've ever gone before in search of the final seeds. And I'm immediately jump scared by Waldo. Shit! Oh. Come on. I give him his memory back, and I notice he is starting to talk in fuller sentences now, which is a lovely touch. And after dozens of islands and hours of searching, we finally find a flaming island. Excitedly, I go to scythe the seeds, and they're too strong. I need to upgrade my scythe. I pick the island clean, and the fire flowers on it seem to be amazing for taming, but both luckily and unluckily, I don't see a single spirit out here. I do somehow find another psychic storm, which seems to have literally no plants or spirits either, so we head home, and by home I mean frantically hurry to the tavern. It's the day of the big festival, day 21, and I'm woken up by a drone angrily trying to break into the tavern. It's a letter from someone named Tobin asking for a spirit with a snorkel. If he thinks I'm handing over Gilgamesh, he can take him over my dead body. I also unlocked a new talent last night that says spirits will stay a day longer in the barn even if I don't feed them, which made me realize spirits could leave. Here I was feeding them because I genuinely felt bad if I forgot to. So I decide it's probably worth it to invest in the moongrass stalls, aka the auto feeders. I start with just 2 of them for now, but I have big plans. You may have noticed these magic mushrooms I've been carrying around and a lot of the other different plants, so let me take this moment to explain a few of them. The bolt fruit boosts speed of the spirits, the flax flowers are for taming, the lily pads are for healing, the mandrakes and nightshade weaken enemy stats, and these beautiful little mushrooms are magic. I eat those for fun. I mean, they also give 100 stamina, but mostly for the hallucinations. I head to the hot springs of the festival, excited for the town event, and I'm told to come back at 8 PM, which feels quite late for an event to start, but hey, I did just turn 30, so maybe that's me. I spend the day island hopping, almost die and miss the festival before hurrying home to wait outside the event instead of risk it. Upon entering, I immediately accidentally triggered the entire event, and I don't get to spend any time talking to anyone or doing anything. I also forgot to bring an offering, but looking at these giant shadow creatures that just came out of the hot spring, I'd rather not say that out loud, and instead hand over my last moonstone, which he seems to love, because an insane amount of loot spawns, including an egg. And I don't get any of it, and instead I'm teleported home and wake up in bed like a toddler who fell asleep in the back of the car. Incredibly hungover from my late night at the hot springs, we start our day by crafting not 1, not 2, but 8 automatic feeders. That's 8 moonstone, I know, but look how pretty this is now. I also head to the local community chest where apparently our rewards are waiting. Inside are 4 of each talisman, a statue, and a strange egg. Excitedly, we hurry home and place the statue outside our greenhouse and the egg in the barn. I use the cleansers to thin out Gilmon's deck even further, and the rest to add powerful cards to Fat Joe the Fairy Princess's deck. With spring nearly over, it's time to get the greenhouse up and running. We add sprinklers, hoe, and water the ground, then plant magic mushrooms, bolt plants, and nimbus for the stat boosts and stamina. I'd like to upgrade my scythe, but we need $5,000. I tried to visit Zed, but he's already closed for the day. Instead, I travel as far away as I can and take my frustration out on some much stronger spirits, which, thanks to our performance-enhancing plants, we're not just holding our own, but can actually tame them. I'll admit they are too strong for us to use, so Zed will hold onto them. We were feeling quite confident and willing to fight until a giant level 32 hellhound appeared and began chasing me down, making it clear it was time to go home. We wake up and immediately harvest our crops. After all, nothing beats starting the day with a plant that tases you. Trust me, better than coffee. I gird my loins and head to see Zed at the science center because I've been collecting a lot of spirit poo and research, which he'll hopefully pay over $5,000 for. Sadly, he only pays $3,200, getting us to $4,700, which is just shy of upgrading our scythe. And with the blacksmith gone for the rest of the day, I guess it's time to go find a dungeon and take out our frustrations. We have to go fairly far to find one, and I'm expecting the boss to be the hardest part, but surprisingly the most difficult section is the fact that every single room's puzzle is solved by slowly drifting between platforms. Kill me now. Eventually we make it to the boss, who is a good few levels stronger and does practically one-hit Gilmon. I really thought he was getting stronger, so I'm a bit sad, but hey, I'm happy he's here at the same time. Especially because Fat Joe the Fairy Princess picks up the slack, having massive turn after massive turn, absolutely annihilating everything in his path. We claim our memory fragment, lick the tree sap for more stamina, and whistle home. But in the dead of the night, we're accosted by a pink-haired demon. She calls out, "Hey you," and says she's excited about the idea of dating me. And with that, she's got me. I'm in love and have a new goal: marry this pink-haired, muscle-bound beast. So I give her the most expensive thing in my inventory, and now that I actually want to date her, she hates it, says ew, 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 and tells me to go away. I don't understand women. I head home hoping for another chance tomorrow when we upgrade our scythe and go to sleep next to my chest full of treasure maps that I've not shown you and don't plan to ever do anything with. Finally, we upgrade our scythe on day 24 and gift Farah a hot pepper, which she didn't mind. With that done, we head straight out to the wilderness to collect flaming seeds, which other than burning to death slowly is fairly easy. On our way home, we find a temple that Waldo explains is the Summer Temple, so we'll be heading there next season. And we also find my home, Australia. I spend the rest of the day collecting resources to upgrade my greenhouse so I can grow these fire flowers to help tame more spirits, but get jump scared again. Oh, it's just you. I hand in Waldo's memories, but zone out as he begins to talk about how glad he is to remember his ATM pin, and wake up in my home. I need to figure out what we actually need to not just upgrade our greenhouse, but actually max it out. So in the morning of day 25, I head to find that out and drop off our seeds. It looks like for the first upgrade, we'll need $5,000, and I have 700. I think we're close. We'll also need 150 stone and 150 wood. That seems doable, but for the next two upgrades, we're gonna need 1,200 stone, 1,200 wood, and $23,000. We have a big task ahead of us, and that's not including the spirit barn and house upgrades that I also want to reach before day 100. Well, here we also drop off the seeds that we've been collecting, but we are still missing 4. 2 other psychic ones I'm growing in my greenhouse currently, but I don't know where to find the other 2, which sparks a need for exploration. I immediately jump on my glider and begin flying as far as I can, and while it takes a while, we do find something. Oh, holy shit, here we go. That's right, a dark island. This must have the plants we're missing, and I can't scythe it. I need to upgrade it again, and that's gonna be like, what, 9 moonstone for 3 ingots and like 10 grand before the season ends, which is in 3 days. Shit. That's right. If I can't upgrade my scythe in the next 3 days and collect these seeds, I'll immediately fail one of the major goals, as I won't be able to collect the Dark Island seeds until after the 100 days finishes. I rush home and begin selling absolutely everything I can. Potions I found in dungeons, rare plants, spirit resources, research. I even sell the charms I made to help me survive on dangerous islands. I won't know how much we make until we fall asleep, but I know I also need 5 moonstones, so I begin to island hop. There's one, nothing here. Oh, there's another one. Come on, Australia, don't let me down. Yes, that's the last one. I hurry home and begin smelting all the moonstone into ingots. I even sell 11 copper in a last-ditch effort to make it over 10,000 by tomorrow. Then head to bed and cross my fingers. Come on, come on, come on. 12 grand! I did it! We can upgrade our scythe tomorrow and get the seeds. I'm so excited I barely sleep. At least that's the story I'm going with. In reality, it's impossible to sleep with a barn full of spirits shrieking all night. So I go to check it out, and our deity egg has hatched into a psychic type named Shadeling. While I edit, looking back, I realize now that I should have been far more excited about this. After all, my goal to catalog every spirit would have ended 4 days ago if I hadn't gotten so lucky that the event dropped this egg, because this is the only place you can get this spirit. That said, I didn't know and was far more pumped about upgrading my scythe, flying back to Bad Dragon headquarters to collect the final seeds we need, which we do manage, just barely, and have to run away fast because the spirits here are deadly. I mean, what the fuck is that? I head home to grab all my ingots and do something crazy. I sell them to Farah for 1.5 times what I'd get in the sell crate. Why? Because I decided for some reason I wanted to upgrade the greenhouse, which will be ready tomorrow. I don't have much time left today, so I decided to try speedrun a dungeon which I found close by. It's very late in the day, but I managed to quickly reach the boss and destroy him. I grab my memory shard, lick some tree bark, and realize we only have a few hours left. May as well try to get all the secret chests, what could go wrong? And pass out at 2 AM on a random island with 1 chest left that I couldn't find. Waldo wakes us up by pouring boiling water on our crutch, classic prank, and we use our totally tactical choice to pass out in the middle of nowhere as a head start to find a new dungeon. We quickly find one on a poison island that is a bit stronger than I am right now, which normally I wouldn't worry, but with Gilmon being weak to poison, I am a bit wary. I force feed my team performance enhancing plants and barely survive the first fight with the sheer amount of poison we get stacked with. And by barely, I mean Gilmon dies and Fat Joe takes several turns that go on for literally 10 minutes straight, drawing and gaining energy until we manage to outlast the strange incestuous emu. I level up and get 2 momentum cards. These are incredibly powerful. Once they're played for the rest of combat, every time I use a card, I'll also draw a card, meaning Fat Joe will be able to go infinite and never end his turn. I don't think we can take the next fight and decide to listen to my inner conscience for the first time and head home to check out our greenhouse, which looks great. We plant our dark seeds and some peppers in the new plots and then go to collect the spirit poop, which a fancy rainbow poo has been left for us. I wonder how much this is worth. 600 gold for poo? Dude, we need way more psychic spirits. For some reason, which probably has nothing to do with us selling all our belongings, I am out of nearly everything, and with it being the second last day of the season, I decide to craft the brooms. My mum stopped texting me angrily. I also visit the tavern for a beer, and inside find the love of my life who calls out to me. We share a single beer with 2 straws, and I head home for the night alone. Nothing new there. It's a beautiful sunny day for the last day of spring. As I breathe in the morning air and take a look around our humble home, I'm taken back to the first day when it was simply just a small patch of grass. Distracted, I'm abruptly knocked out unconscious by a drone. Once I recover, I find it's a letter from Waldo asking me to bring him a fishbow. And for once, I don't feel used by a request. Looking at our fishbow, however, I realize he looks a little bit different to every other fishbow and has a little star next to his name. I don't know what that's all about and don't really care because while it's the last day of the season, that won't stop me squeezing every bit of progress out in the form of a dungeon. Just kidding, I immediately get distracted by a warp totem, end up in the middle of nowhere before being jump scared by a chicken house. The seasons may change, but I clearly do not. I hand over Waldo's memory shards and make my way back home to bed, realizing that I've wasted an entire day. But I don't care because I can't stop looking at everything we've achieved this short season. Scanning the map, I realize that our rocky start has led to huge exploration, collecting every single seed for the season, upgrading all our tools to iron. Our scythe is now Moonstone, a spirit barn full of automatic feeders. We upgraded our greenhouse and struggled through 8 of 30 dungeons. We've seen 48 of 123 spirits and begun to find love in the form of a pink-haired demon woman. Not forgetting, of course, that we defeated the Spring Temple and built an amazing team with Gilmon, Gilgamesh, and Fat Joe, the fairy princess. We can barely fall asleep, we're so excited for the new season to start, but eventually we manage. It's day 29 and the first day of summer. The music is poppin', my mum is sending me kisses and is teaching me how to make potions. Or she would if I could send her one of the concoctions I found in the dungeon. Sadly, I can't find one in any of my chests. I guess someone must have sold them a few days ago. So instead, we immediately leave the island in search of summer seeds, new moonstones, and now all the talismans have reset. We find beach balls and pinwheels, which are great for stamina and taming, moss balls for healing, zap plants and sunflowers for power and speed, but before we can finish I'm again distracted, but this time by a dungeon. Not just to hunt down the boss, but also a concoction for our mother, which we find easily. Man, summer's off to a great start. We breeze through the puzzles. Oh shit, cut that. And it wouldn't be a boss fight if Gilmon wasn't killed immediately, but this time we try a new method, taming the Guardian's minions, which works extremely well until Fat Joe is murdered. Gilgamesh is concussed and promptly destroyed right after. Oh, summer is not off to a good start. The seasons may change, but that doesn't mean we have to. Waking up in Waldo's bed and fearing for my life, I decide to not face the boss and instead head to the summer temple, completely forgetting that I used up every plant I found trying to survive the dungeon yesterday. Along the way, I collect hot air balloon plants, which apparently produce experience and only take 4 days to grow. While running from a terrifying little gremlin that would surely one-hit me, I get an amazing idea and decide to spend the entire summer juicing my spirits with steroids until they get so roided out of their mind that they can't see their own feet. That will have to wait though because Waldo wants his memory so badly that he stamps on the plant I'm about to harvest. Dude, what the fuck? And on the way home we find the fall temple. Not much room to walk around here, is there? Please cut that. I don't want to waste time, and since it's raining, I quickly plant down all my hot air seeds and whatever else I found, sell the concoction from yesterday's dungeon and a small pile of spirit poo before going to bed without showering. With my new steroid-focused training plan, I wake up and decide to upgrade the greenhouse again. Sadly, I'm interrupted by my mother saying I'm now her official potion brewer. So I go to build the alchemy table she sent me, which costs a lot of iron, copper, and heck, at this point, even a single wood is expensive to me. We head down to see Ophelia, the magical MILF, and drop off the last spring seed she needed, earning 5,000 bucks. I should have done this weeks ago. Wanting an easy win, I fly down to Australia and grow a ladder plant to tackle the dungeon. Easy win is an unfair way to describe what happens in this dungeon, because we defeat the boss on our first turn. Unfair is probably better. We are rewarded for our bullying with a memory shard and some tree sap. We spend the rest of the day gathering wood and stone to upgrade our greenhouse, and the mind-numbing nature of the task gives me a great idea. Fertilizer. Specifically, experience boosting fertilizer, so that night in bed I don't sleep and instead brainstorm how to make it, and while I do figure it out, sadly I have no idea how to make the composter which is needed for it. While $16,000 does look like a lot of money, I can see the big picture, so I visit Zed early on day 32 to sell all of my spirit poo. I also upgrade my greenhouse and drop off my summer seeds, but sadly Ophelia the magic MILF isn't in today, so her assistant, Guyana, takes them. I swear I found more than that. Did I just plant them, or did Guyana just eat them as I handed them to her? Wanting to prove myself, I rush to the Dark Continent to collect their seed. While being burned by the void itself, Waldo strolls in and demands his memories back. Thankfully, we manage to whistle home just before passing out and drop off the void seeds. Okay, so psychic seeds we don't have, and we need to harvest what we planted for these three. Easy! On my way home, I drop by Rowan, who I've now realized is just Chucky from the Rugrats. And since I'm too stupid to make my own fertilizer, I just buy it from them and begin lathering it on all my crops. Excited to see how much of a boost it gets, I use my rod to speed grow the hot air balloons and oh fuck. Shit, I'm so dumb. I pass out. In the morning, it looks like each hot air plant gives around 75 experience when boosted with fertilizer, but only 50 without. Eager to get my roiding plan going, I speed grow the rest, harvest them for seeds, and replant them. You might be thinking, Eljay, why not just train Gilmon to be stronger or invest in some armor or health stats? Surely it's easier and faster than this. And to that I say, shut the fuck up. I've used up almost all my stamina, so I marvel at my beautiful new greenhouse upgrade before island hopping in search of moonstones. Which, while exploring a Thunder Island, I notice enemies are running away from me. We're quite far from home, so these spirits should be pretty high level. But I think word is spreading now that Fat Joe the Fairy Princess is able to get 27 energy on turn 2 and never let the enemy play a card. Fat Joe, you are terrifying. The power I feel being able to intimidate these small creatures really makes me question my choices, and I decide that I should work even harder to start dosing Gilmon with steroids. It's another rainy day on the island, which makes the drone sent by my mother crash even harder into me than usual. It's hard to make out the wet soggy letter, but it seems like she wants me to brew her a potion. But I haven't actually set up the alchemy table because that would require mining, so I go to visit Farah and upgrade my hammer, and I misclick and accidentally upgrade my axe. Oh god, my mum's gonna be so mad at me. I lie to myself and say that it was all planned to make gathering wood for the greenhouse upgrades easier, but we both know that's not true. Before we leave, I give Farah a gift and even tell her a joke about mermen causing the ocean to be salty. She loves it. I meant to be mining today, but for some reason decided to spend the rest of the day trying to tame fire spirits. My first attempt doesn't go great. Okay, water is strong against fire. Write that down. So we try again. Yep, okay. Water, that one's on me. But as they always say, third time's the charm, and we managed to tame a flaming centipede, a dancing skeleton, and this buck-toothed little freak. I do end up doing a little bit of mining, thankfully, because before summer is up, I plan on having fields and fields of steroids being watered by sprinklers. Both for Gilmon, but also, if you thought Fat Joe was fat now, wait till I'm done with him. Lots of our crops are ready today, so we harvest them to make room for our steamy hot steroid plants, but not before collecting our smelted ores and crafting the alchemy table. I place it down, look inside, and I'm immediately stressed out. Sorry mum, but that will have to wait because I refuse to read. It's a Sunday, so the entire town is likely closed, but I check the science center either way. I don't know why I got my hopes up. While exploring, I stumble across the summer temple again, and this time I have what I need to open it. It is beautiful inside, and I can't wait to murder the inhabitants. But it's late in the day, and I'm desperate to find a psychic storm, so this will have to wait till tomorrow. Despite flying around aimlessly with absolutely no plan, we can't seem to find a storm. And as we're about to go home, once again Australia proves itself to be the best country and has a psychic storm appear right in front of me. We destroy the natural landscape and find some strange eyeball plants, which we scythe for seeds. We tame a small magical cat that was carrying a psychic egg and a pink reindeer. Despite destroying every resource on the island, it looks like there really was just that single plant, which is a shame. So we whistle home, a bit disappointed. That is until the morning of day 36 when I read these eyeball plants provide spirits with significant experience. And suddenly, I'm rock hard and decide this will be our entire greenhouse. I use as much stamina as I can to plant and harvest a single plant till I have 8 ready, before heading to the summer temple to shed blood on sacred ground. We enter the temple and we're immediately attacked by an adorable little raindrop who murders Gilmon in cold blood. Enraged, Fat Joe crushes them with his fat ass. We're rewarded with flippers, but sadly can't go any further without offering a lantern, which we craft easily, and a rare jewelfish that is not so easy. We spend all day and night outside the temple trying to catch it, and eventually, it's a boot. But eventually, another boot. But eventually, a boot. But eventually, at 11:30 p.m., Finally! Alright, you piece of crap. With time against us, we quickly throw our flippers on and paddle to the next boss, who Gilmon is killed by immediately, before Fat Joe once again destroys them in a single turn. We drop off our next offering, sea glass and a moonstone, which I predicted I would need based on the previous temple, before fighting the current, paddling our way to the final encounter. And just as the clock strikes midnight, it's on. We're attacked by a tidal wave wearing a tiny hat. Surprisingly, Gilmon lasts the first turn and Fat Joe begins card cycling, removing nearly all the enemy's armor before he is stunned. Gilgamesh sees his chance and destroys the minions, but if we don't do something soon, Fat Joe and Gilmon will both meet their end. We manage to cycle through our inflated deck and enrage Fat Joe to do a whopping 63 damage through the boss's armor. And, just for good measure, begin styling on him, bashing his remaining armor and drawing cards for no reason until finally allowing Gilgamesh to land the final blow. We grab the water seal, ignore Waldo's incoherent Bruce Lee impersonation, and whistle home to sell our boots before passing out in bed. Another rainy day on our farm and the steroids look ready for harvest, but it's not enough yet. Even this must be doubled. Production must be faster. We plant 121 hot balls at once, and I'm going to desperately need some stamina if I want to do more today. So I head to the local tavern to buy the dish of the day, which gives a massive minus 20 stamina. Great. Instead, I buy a beer and a coffee. Drinking the coffee, I appear to get a movement speed boost, which is cool, so I drink the beer and get a movement speed debuff. That perfectly cancels out. Okay, anyway, fish seem to give great stamina, so I fish for a bit and eat them raw like some sort of bear, and then head home to experiment on my strange eyeball plants as they slowly overtake my entire greenhouse. Now that it's a beautiful sunny day, our fields are looking amazing, and for the OCD-minded of you watching, I'm sure you love this little section right here, don't you? Our goal today is to upgrade our greenhouse and conquer a dungeon, but first, we drop off our research alongside a coffee to Zed, which gives us the cash needed to actually pay for the upgrade. Quickly, we craft the concoction our mother wanted and ship it to her before flying off in search of blood. While exploring the dungeon, this chest lid opens the wrong way and kills me. And when I go to get the loot back, it does it again. Alright, that second one might be my fault. Fat Joe once again dispenses the boss easily on the first turn, and we're once again rewarded with a memory shard and some hallucinogenic tree sap. My thirst for blood isn't satiated by this encounter, and I'm beeline for another dungeon, hoping to get 2 done in one day. Specifically, I'm out for revenge of the dungeon I fled from on day 27. Upon entering, I buff my team with a few plants and take on the next elite. Based on how this fight goes, I expect the boss to be pretty easy. Shit, crap, no! And that fight wasn't even the boss. Waldo is standing over us on day 39, breathing heavily onto our face. I rush outside, and before I know it, a drone delivers a letter from, Waldo. It's fairly unimportant and just explains that I can now set a new whistle marker so I can teleport there instead of to the statue. A mechanic that I will never use and quickly forget about. For lack of better judgment, I immediately entered the dungeon again. This time we managed to scrape through that fight that ended our run yesterday, but we're forced to tactically retreat again. This dungeon is proving to be a terrifying place for us. Early on in this run, I found a psychic potion which reveals the location of psychic storms that are active, so I decide to whistle home and drink that, only to realize it doesn't work until one spawns, and I may have just wasted an incredibly rare potion. At least the new greenhouse is huge and ready for dozens of eyeball plans, and needing a confidence boost, I go visit Farah. I tell her the same merman joke 3 times in a row before giving her a random flower I had on me, which she absolutely loves. We run some errands tidying the farm and adding more automatic feeding stalls to the barn, but can't help feeling crap having wasted the potion. Until suddenly, there it is on the map, a psychic storm. We hurry to the island and find a single tiny flower, the missing seed we've needed. Quickly tame a lampshade, a rabbit, and a sentient hat before whistling home, or I would have whistled home, but I've already used it today, so that means we get to feel Waldo's morning glory poking us awake once again. Hi Waldo, bye Waldo. We make our way home with the psychic seeds we managed to collect, and we're greeted by a beautiful field of balls. I mean balloons. I harvest half and plan to replant half to keep the crop going. We plant more eyeberries in the greenhouse and head to Ophelia the Magic MILF's shop to drop off the rest of the seeds. She rewards me with another $5,000 and the satisfaction of seeing this screen right here. With that done, Fat Joe lives up to his name and eats 60 balloons at once, gaining 2 levels. We replant the entire field, which will be ready in a few days to do this all again. But for the OCD-minded viewers, don't worry, I made sure everything matches this time. Except for this spot right here. But you love that, don't you? I also brew a concoction my dad wanted and feel a lot more confident with the brewing table now. Essentially, you just shove in 2 plants, some ash, and a bottle, and then it combines all the stats together and gives you a potion. Simple, not sure why anyone would feel overwhelmed by it unless they're an idiot. Right, guys? I'd love to beat a dungeon today, but since that one in the north is giving me a hard time, I follow the wind until I find one to the south. Apparently, I either ran away or died here because there's only the boss left, who is a cakewalk. Nothing like bullying the weak to make you feel better, right guys? We grab the shard, tree sap, and head off in search of moonstones, but we're interrupted by Waldo, who says some absolutely terrifying terrifying shit about visions and spreading darkness. So I do what I do for myself when my anxiety triggers panic attacks and give him a beer, which seems to work, and now that he's drunk I can remind him of the horrors he's seen with this memory shard. We spend the rest of the day exploring and collecting plants, moonstones, whatever else we can find before heading home to tend to our spirit barn and base. It's the 14th day of summer, meaning it's already half over. Where does the time go, hey? Don't bring up me dying over and over, okay? Zed tells us he wants an Armbot spirit, and I've actually begun to grow fond of our creepy perverted scientist, so I think we can do that. In fact, today might be a good day to start hunting down the other 70 spirits we need to catalog, and while we're at it, let's fulfill all the village's spirit requests. I harvest all the plants that help tame, scythe our eyeballs out before replanting them, and head over to tame every single thing I see, and then immediately give up because I can't find a single spirit with oak in its name. Sorry Paolo, guess you shouldn't have cheated on Rachel. I do find the emo shroom Guyana once, but by the time I find it, I've used up everything I had for taming. I'll admit I feel like I wasted today, so I head to the tavern where my only two friends in the entire town are drinking together. Without me. So I head home and go to bed feeling worse than before. A beautiful rainy morning for harvesting 81 glistening, wet, steamy balls from the ground and replanting 121 seeds. We also pick out our tiny flowers, which appear to also give 50 experience, so we pick and replant those in the greenhouse. I go to feed Gilmon all 90 plants and hopefully get him over 4,500 experience, but as I do, Fat Joe dives in front eating every single one, taking him from level 25 to just shy of level 28. With this strength boost, it would be genuinely crazy if we lost in the northern dungeon again, but it's shockingly far closer than I'd like, and we're not even at the boss yet. With no heals or preparation left, we scrape our way to the boss and watch as Gilmon dies in all 4 fights, meaning for the boss, Gilmon is only on 1 HP and doomed to be one hit before it even begins. Or is he? We managed to bash both the boss and his minions turn 1, giving Gilgamesh a chance to pop regeneration. Just this once, we have a chance for everyone to live in a fight. Fat Joe makes Gilmon intangible for 1 turn, saving his life. We bash the enemy once more and quickly take out their Timu ribeye. Fat Joe prepares to go infinite, makes Gilmon intangible so he doesn't die to his own rage, and begins absolutely destroying the boss. It's shockingly not even close, despite dying in this dungeon over 5 times now. The power of steroids is truly amazing. We take our memory shard, drink our sap, and immediately bump into Waldo, who excitedly drinks a beer with us before taking his shard. Looking around the map, I can see 5 more dungeons we've discovered, but sadly, they're all roughly level 37 to 43, meaning we're gonna need to start dosing even harder. The next morning, we run a lot of errands, crafting new sprinklers, collecting spirit crap, and tidying up our chests. We prepare a new plot in the greenhouse, sell our poopy to Zed, and give him a beach peach as a gift. Oh, I knew he'd love balls! At this point, thanks to spirit crap and research, we are well and truly loaded, and thanks to all our combat experience, I was able to extend my level cap and rescue the creepy little fire gremlin we tamed a few weeks ago from Zed's horrific research warehouse. I get distracted, and when I come to, I find myself in a random dungeon fighting a boss. I tame his minions as a psychological warfare tactic, and by spamming random cards manage to quickly defeat him. We take our shard, our sap, and decide that since I'm here anyway, I should pick up some more iron and copper for sprinklers. I tame Zed's Armbot, this cute kitty cat, and geriatric cloud before going in search of a psychic storm. We travel quite far out and start to see just how high the spirits are getting. Not wanting to pass out, I collect some ash for crafting with, and right before I whistle home, I see it. A holographic spirit. For legal reasons, this is not a shiny. It's different, okay, Nintendo? This flambit is strong and just on the edge of what I can tame, so it will take a lot of food. But we managed to weaken it to exactly 1 HP and use every piece of taming food we have to fill its taming hearts to full, and oh shit. And with that, you get to watch as we kill an incredibly rare spirit and go home to cry ourselves to sleep. We start today by making 5 new sprinklers and finishing off every plot in the greenhouse. Soon, this will just be eyeballs as far as the eyeballs can see. Very carefully, we put Gilgamesh in the science center and don't misclick release so we can give Zed his spirit Armbot, which he loves. And it's not until I see that creepy smile do I question why this man wanted a specifically humanoid spirit who's good with its hands. Oh no, what have I done? We reunite with Gilgamesh before dropping by Ferris. I tell her the same joke about Merman again 3 times in a row, which she cannot get enough of. Gift her a Moonstone ingot, which doesn't do nearly as much as the Merman joke, upgrade my hammer to Moonstone quality, and head off in search of a dungeon. Quickly we find one that is roughly level 30, except the game is lying, because the very first fight is actually a level 36 elite. That's 12 levels higher than us. However, with a few lucky bashes and Fat Joe's intangible cards, we managed to destroy the fight. In fact, it's not even close. The next fight are 3 enemies all level 30 or higher. This might not be easy. Except it is. Don't get me wrong, we almost die a lot, but thanks to carefully curating our decks, we have a lot more survivability now. And even when all seems lost, like our next battle against 3 level level 30s where Gilgamesh and Fat Joe die nearly immediately. Even Gilmon was able to hold his own and solo all 3. After a few more fights though, things are getting closer and closer, but with our bloodlust satiated for the day and our steroid strategy proving successful, I tactically retreat from the final elite and head home. I'm awoken by the sound of drones slamming into my tent, and when one finally rips through, it's a letter inviting me to a meteor shower to watch spirits migrate from the beach. I'm very excited, and hopefully this time I don't accidentally take Zed with me. That's not for a few weeks though, and right now our big wet orange balls are ready for harvesting once again. I pick half and scythe the rest to replant a full field of 120, and I'd like to just draw your eye to this one spot here. I feed all 85 balls to Gilmon and he gains 2 levels. This progress feels too slow for me though, so I decide to invest in fertilizer to really boost our next crop. But once I get into town, and honestly guys, I do not know why, I buy 150 wood and then upgrade the north and west wings of my house. Genuinely, I don't know why I did this because I don't have a house, just a tent. At the general store though, I discovered that I can buy all the seeds I've given to Ophelia, including the 100 experience eyeball plants. I'll admit, I did read the seed quests and I understood that this was the entire point of doing them, but I didn't think these would be included or this cheap because it feels incredibly overpowered. I'm not going to complain though, I buy 100 berry seeds in order to try grow 10,000 experience, and suddenly we're on the clock. I need to plant these berry seeds today or else I won't be able to fully grow them before the end of the season. So I spend the entire rest of the day not just crafting sprinklers, hoeing the ground, and using the rain to our advantage, but also use my upgraded hammer and rock smash ability to get a massive load of ore. I rush home with only a few seconds to spare, and I'm able to smelt these overnight so I can get the sprinklers down tomorrow. But as we go to bed, all 100 eyeberry seeds are planted. While asleep, I hear some horrific banging sounds. Rather than check it out, I assume it's my spirits having a good time and go back to sleep. In fact, it was actually Paolo, who had broken in and built some extensions for my house. Upon exiting, however, I see my tent looks the same, which leads me to one conclusion. I am in fact a Time Lord. We also see that it's raining, so I didn't need to stress at all yesterday and my seeds would have been fine either way. That said, knowing I can just buy seeds now and that Spirit Poo sells for so much money, I decide to start just buying my seeds to help stimulate the local economy. In fact, I buy and plant another 30 eyeballs just for good measure. I drop by to see my wife, just some pink-haired woman, whatever, I don't really care about her, and while out walking, bump into Osino who asks for a beer, which, because it's 10 AM, does concern me. But I'm not the life police, so sure. As thanks, she says she'll see me tonight, and since we don't have any plans, that's even more concerning. We plant our disembodied eyeballs and decide that my strange Time Lord tent is cool, but not as cool as a fucking tree fort. But this needs a lot of wood and moonstone, so it's off to the dungeon in hopes of finding them in chests. We quickly take out a boss who begs for his life, take his memory shard, tree sap, and search through all the remaining chests to find only one. Thankfully, on our way home, we find not just 2 more, but also a few more dungeons we hadn't found yet. It's an errands kind of day on day 48, buying more seeds, telling a pink-haired woman the same merman joke 3 times in rapid succession, selling spirit crap for $9,000, and I'd like to say scouting the entire outer rim of the map, but immediately I got distracted in a dungeon that is far too high level for me. And in my desperation not to die, I learned that the performance enhancing crops stack. This entire time, I thought only one plant at a time could buff my spirits, but no, I can buff every stat they all have all at once. And in this drug-fueled rage, much like the Viking berserkers who would take shrooms before a battle, Fat Joe immediately goes infinite, gaining endless energy and cards on his first turn, allowing Gilgamesh, Gilmon, and himself to tear the boss and his minions who are 10 levels higher than him apart without taking a scratch or letting them even take a turn. Fat Joe, having reached a new level of thick, gains a new evolution bar that, if we manage to fill up, will allow him to ascend to an even more terrifying beast. I believe this is the last memory shard we need, but we haven't seen Waldo in a while. Hopefully that changes soon. While stumbling around at night looking for Waldo, I accidentally find a Psychic Storm, and, well, Waldo. We pluck some disembodied eye berries and give Waldo a coffee to calm his manic episode before handing over the last memory shard. Suddenly, he's able to speak in full sentences, and his mirror blasts alive with a thick black ooze like portal appearing inside it. He warns me not to go inside, and for once, I listen to him, instead choosing to focus on the Psychic Storm outside, recruiting a few new spirits, and then, for lack of better judgment, diving right through the portal anyway. We land right beside a horrifying rift in space-time, unable to do anything and being chased by a level 66 dark spirit. We rush home and pretend we never saw anything, despite knowing we'll have to deal with that sooner or later. It's the day of the big meteor shower, and we wake up bright and early to find a letter from Osino saying she's going to quit drinking and instead befriend an electrical bee. She does need me to bring her the bee, but I'm happy to do that if it means she stops drinking. Except she goes on to say at the end of the letter she's going to use the bee's honey to make mead, and now I'm concerned. Our big orange balls are ready for harvest, and with Gilmon falling a bit too far behind in levels, we feed all 120 to him, gaining 4 levels. While we wait for the meteor shower, I am heavily torn between building an entirely cosmetic and unnecessary tree fort for a house, or an incredibly practical, helpful spirit storage machine which will save me hours by not needing to visit Zed. My new house is awesome, but we're running late, so we rush to the beach where we watch the spirits migrate with Farah, purely because she said she'd love to make a sword out of a meteor, which is awesome. Assuming this event was going to be relaxing and at all similar to the moonlit jelly event of Stardew Valley was a bad idea, because this is actually a rhythm game that is so incredibly stressful. I am getting an insane amount of moonstones though, even if it means ignoring the woman I'm supposed to be on a date with. The rest of the night is a blue blur and I wake up in bed on day 50. We're halfway through the challenge and nowhere near halfway through our goals, so needing to make progress, I give Osino and Guyana the spirits they requested because I kinda just love watching the townsfolk walk around with spirits. Other than that, we decorated and tidied our base, adding these flaming trees to my incredible flammable tree fort, and a few more auto feeders to the barn. For it being such an important day, it was a nice moment to rest and tidy up before starting the next half of the challenge. It's day 51, and baby do I have eyes on you. Sadly, they're a giant field of horrific Cthulian crop. Even sadder though, the outdoor crop won't be able to regrow in time, so the plan today is harvest everything outside and in the greenhouse, but only replant the greenhouse, leaving us with a whopping 102 eyeballs, worth 10,200 experience. I feed a few to level up Gilmon to unlock his evolution bar, and then with Gilgamesh falling behind in levels, I decide to catch him up by force feeding him as well. I've been very focused on power and speed as stats the entire game, which increases armor removal and damage done. This glass cannon build works every time, 50% of the time, so I double down even harder. Feeling incredibly self-assured, I decide to try tame a dark spirit today. Obviously, these are between level 55 and 65, so it will be pretty tough. I've been using 5 flowers to tame, which each have 30 plus taming, which for such strong spirits is unlikely to work. However, if I combine 5 flowers in my brewing station, I'll make potions that are 60 plus taming, taking us from 90 taming a turn to 180 per turn, which might just do it. Landing on the dark continent, my skin immediately begins to burn from the power of the void. I won't be able to last here long, and I have to start eating fruit to refill my stamina. This is a problem because spirits just aren't spawning, and I'm about to die until 3 level 55s decide to show themselves. Somehow, against all odds, our team is able to go first, likely thanks to our obsession with the speed stat. Fat Joe immediately takes us from 3 energy to 12, but there's a problem. I was only able to craft 2 potions. The rest are random low tame stat ones that I found in dungeons. I pop my strongest potion and it barely fills his heart. The second does a bit better, but we only have 4 more and they're all much weaker, barely working. With only 1 potion left, I fill the tiny bit of his heart left and... Oh! Holy shit, that worked! Somehow we managed to tame a level 55 dark spirit while only level 32. With nothing left to tame, I'm forced to end my turn and take a beating, which makes it very clear I'm gonna die if I can't escape. I roll the dice, barely get away, and before I can even breathe, the spirit charges me again and almost grabs me as I whistle home. Looking at our new spirit stats, they're absolutely nuts. In fact, it's so overpowered, I'm not going to use it. I'm not a little bitch boy cheater. I only caught him because I want his dark matter poo. So I tuck him in, drip some laxatives into his bowl, and head to bed myself. Some big orange balls are ready to harvest today, and while they're much weaker and less fun than the pink disembodied eyeballs, I'm still happy to get my hands on them. Checking on my spirit poo, it looks like it only took 1 night to get that dark matter. Looks like it's all coming up Eljay. Something I love about my greenhouse is truly how different all the crops are. Even if they're the same crop, they're all so sporadically planted they grow randomly, which I'm sure absolutely nobody watching has any issues with at all. Right, guys? After feeding our balls and eyes to Gilmon, he reaches level 34, and I realize I might be setting myself up to struggle evolving my team, because the stronger I get, the less evolution experience I get from fights. But the roids are flowing, and at this point, if I stopped, I'm worried Gilmon and Fat Joe might turn on me. I go to visit Zed, and as he sees me walk in, he quickly shoves some sort of wet rubber tube under his desk and starts talking about how x squared equals y squared. It was a bit weird, but he does seem over the moon to be given so much poop. I'm getting more and more invested in the townsfolk, I'll admit, and have been slowly making sure I drop by to talk to them when I can. But mostly I've focused on Farah, who I once again drop by and tell her the same merman joke 3 times and give her a gift, which she loves. With the season coming to a close, I decide my home base is looking a bit messy, so I tidy up and create a small area for my metalworking, a place for my magical crafting, tidy up our chests, connect it all with stone paths, and with our new tree fort set up, I remove our old tent and instead set it up on the beach. This is in case I teleport home late at night and can't make it to the tavern. The outside is looking lovely now, but as I head inside to go to sleep, I can't help but feel our home is a bit Sad. Our late summer routine is really starting to feel like home, digging our hands into poo, harvesting disembodied eyeballs, dropping off gifts, and telling the same joke to everyone all the time. And with decoration on the mind, we've started dropping by Paolo's house, which today is selling a fire pit. That'll match the trees perfectly. I also buy a random crafting recipe, and Paolo teaches me how to make a sex paddle. Alright, you freak. We set up our new fire pit in the rain, and I don't know if it's the danger of the fire or the new sex paddle knowledge, but I decide to get a bit rowdy and go looking for a high-level dungeon, which takes nearly all day, but we do find one on a fire island quite far out. Another gauntlet type, much like the ones we've struggled with in the past, it's a series of fights each harder and harder. My little team of 30s are going up against level 50s, but Gilgamesh has a huge type advantage, so I have faith. At least I did until Fat Joe the Fairy Princess's one hit and we begin barely scraping by with Gilgamesh's regeneration. Taking out one spirit, then another, it's a 2v1. We have type advantage and can pull this off. I believe. Then Gilmon's murdered. It's okay, we can still do this. We land our bash, stunning the enemy centipede, but we just don't have the damage to end it and take a massive hit, killing Gilgamesh instantly. Whoa, I thought we had that for sure. Waking up once again in Waldo's bed, I realize it's starting to feel like home. Sadly, the piece of shit parked his house somewhere that makes it incredibly difficult for us to leave the island, causing us to burn horrifically while fleeing to the edge. While we may have fixed Waldo's mirror, that doesn't mean the dungeon goal is done. In fact, Waldo only needed 15 dungeons to be saved, and there are 30 for us to complete. Our quest for domination continues and we find another gauntlet dungeon, this time only a few levels higher than us. Expecting these fights to be easy, I am constantly proven wrong. Gilgamesh is incredibly weak to this dungeon, but surprisingly, Gilmon's deck has quietly become a powerhouse of armor removal. We also got this amazing free card that when used on a concussed enemy halves their HP, making it perfect for stronger enemies. It's a tough fight, but we managed to take down the final boss, and as we do, power suddenly surges through Fat Joe. A crack of something like thunder, but darker as the world shifts. The moon opens as if an eye staring into Fat Joe's soul. No more is he Fat Joe the Fairy Princess. Now he is Fat Joe the Fish? What the fuck? Bit of a strange evolution, I know, but now he is a dual type, water and psychic. And yes, also a fish. We were concerned before about Gilgamesh's place on the team due to how much he was dying, but now Fat Joe the Fish is practically kicking him off. The last of our summer crops are ready on day 55, and it being the second last day of the season, there is no reason to replant them. Instead, we harvest and feed everything we can to Gilgamesh, hoping he won't be kicked off the team. With nothing to replant, I decide to decorate our house, building Osino's kitchen blueprints, a new bed, counters, dining table with a single chair. Don't worry though, I include a small wooden stall for when company comes over, just to really assert dominance. We're missing something though, so without her consent, I put up a photo of Farah I sneakily took. I just have to remember to take it down before she comes over. Determined to cook something and finish one of our challenge goals, I decide to make spirit soup, which will increase spirit spawn rates. It seems easy enough, but it does cost $600 to make every bowl because they require psychic spirit poo. I throw everything in the oven to make 2 batches and do some chores on the farm while I wait. That was surprisingly easy. No clue why I was so stressed about that, but I think I did something wrong because it came out, well, dubious. Having wasted $1,200 and gotten a single gold in exchange, I decided to try again, and this time I won't leave the stove on. Surprisingly, it worked! The quest says to sell it to Osino directly, but it's late and I want to try find some moonstones. That will have to wait. Instead, we make a massive discovery. While trying to eat a zap plant for ourselves, I drop one by accident, and nearly immediately a spirit spawns. You can summon spirits with food? What are they, me? We head to bed proud of our accomplishments today, until we are promptly reminded of our cooking failure. Thanks, game. It's the last day of summer, and knowing we're likely going to spend a lot more time on the Dark Continent, I craft a charm to take less damage there. I'm also attacked by a drone explaining Quill wants a sheeple as his companion spirit, which we could do, but instead I decided to go taming new spirits today. I know I meant to give Osino my soup that I cooked, but I down it hoping to spawn new rare spirits. Instead, it summons a giant chicken house. Wow, that is effective. The goal today is actually to tame a specific spirit with oak in the name. I can't find it in my compendium, so it must be fairly rare. I spend all day dropping food alongside my buff to try get the spawn, and I do tame a lot of new spirits, but sadly, I don't seem to be getting lucky. Until finally, at 6:30 at night, right before I plan to go home, I see something I've never seen before, an Oaken. I quickly tame him, and on my way home, a different Snorko for Tobin. Don't worry, I would never give away Gilgamesh. As summer comes to a close, our greenhouse sits full of happy little eyeballs growing away. Our barn is hustling and bustling full of spirits of each type, and likely in need of an upgrade or 3 next season. We learned to cook, fell in love, defeated the temple, returned Waldo's memories, groceries, and of course, began giving steroids to our friends, leading to Fat Joe evolving into a fish. But will it be enough? With only 44 days left, can we upgrade our house and barn entirely? Will we befriend the town, marry our pink-haired buff girlfriend, or even go on a single date with her? But all of that will have to wait, because it's a beautiful and very orange fall season. We have new spirits, new seeds, new dungeons to explore. But first, we go to see a man about a tree, a surfer about a gecko, and a himbo about a sheep, which, I'll be honest, I've never liked Quill. Until I saw him painting on the dock, and now I strangely really like him. Quill, I don't think your new spirit is going to enjoy this weather, but you do you. Collecting all our greenhouse eyeballs, replanting them, we level Fat Joe up a bit more and realize it is quite late in the day, but that just adds to the challenge to visit every island and collect every seed all on the first day, including Psychic. We easily check off Poison, Electric, and Dark seeds, and then as 8 PM rolls around, the true challenge of finding a Psychic Storm is here. Oh, there it is. We're able to get Will-O-Wisp seeds, but sadly can't find other Psychic plants. We do tame this fluffy pink rabbit with a beard because I've never seen it before and absolutely love it. We get another Evo Stone and we're forced to head home to pass out in the tavern. But on the plus side, giving all those men spirits allowed me to unlock the flirty trait. How you doing? We drop our seeds off to Ophelia and it looks like we are missing just one psychic seed. The good news though, it looks like most of fall is reharvestable, meaning one set of seeds is all we need, including Will-O-Wisps, which apparently greatly increase experience. Move over eyeballs, there's a new testicular plant in town. We plant a smattering of seeds, and yes, that is a technical term, then visit the tavern to sell Osino the spirit poo soup I cooked. She loves it and gives me several quests to cook other villager meals, each with a missing ingredient we have to figure out. First up, we're making Rowan's mystery donuts, which are quite straightforward. Stone fruit is the only thing round and brown outside of my asshole, and next Quill is wanting a spicy pasta. Since this was meant to be cooked in spring, I assume the spring hot pepper plant is the missing ingredient, and I'm proven correct. I go to tell Osino that I figured out the recipes, but she doesn't seem to care or even congratulate me or thank me, and instead gives me more recipes to figure out. Cleo wants a mystery cake made of pinwheel plants, and Guyana wants electrified ramen from zap plants. We throw all these together, but we'll have to give them out tomorrow as it's time for bed. And for those wondering, yes, I did spend an entire day doing cooking side quests in a challenge that has an incredibly tight time frame. So what? Sue me. We head into town to give Guyana her ramen, but also to buy Will-O-Wisp seeds from Rowan, who is closed and instead just wandering around the town square. I give them their donuts, which they love. I follow up by telling them the merman joke, which goes horribly. We visit Farah and decide to try flirt with her to make up for my social failure, and she loves it. We drop off Quill's pasta, Cleo's cake, and I can't help but wonder if the villagers would be upset if I told them I was using actual living electrical spirit eggs in their dishes. We'll never know, so we head to the tavern to buy a beer and immediately gift it back to Osino, who at this point I feel like I am enabling her alcoholism. I desperately want to see Waldo because I've got his spirit with me, so I start island hopping, and as it gets close to 8 PM, I try to go as far out as possible, hoping if a psychic storm spawns close to me, that with less islands around, it'll be easier to find. And while I wait, Waldo appears. We hand over the rare fishbow, a beer, and go outside to look for the storm, but are pleasantly surprised it's right on top of me. Until I realize the island is level 65, and that because I had already spawned the island in, the plant I need might not be here. Looking around, I feel the theory is proven true until a single ghost shroom appears. We grind for a few fights and manage to find another Evo stone, which reminds me I left Gilgamesh God knows where. Day 60 is a day of progress. We built way too many automatic feeders, so we need to upgrade our barn not once, but twice. I hand in the last psychic seed and get paid for my hard work, buy some decorative plants for our home, and then buy 200 Will-O-Wisp seeds for planting. We plant all 200 of our seeds, place down our new houseplant, including a giant man-eating fly trap right by the door as a security system. After all, there are some real weirdos living out here in the wilderness. And as the sun sets, I decide to go visit the fall temple tomorrow. We awake excited to check out our barn, both because we've now tripled its size, but also because a new psychic spirit hatched that we didn't have, a very dapper looking owl. It's at this moment I start to wonder if certain spirits can only be hatched from eggs, and decide to start trying to hatch as many as possible for safety, since I refuse to look at the wiki for this challenge. As I go to set off for the fall temple, I get the most important letter in the game. It's short, but sweet. Waldo thanks me for being his friend. I have to admit, I cried a little reading this, but that's probably because my daughter has been sick lately, so I haven't slept in 2.5 weeks. Yep. That's the real reason. Once at the temple, we're intercepted by Waldo and his gorgeous fishy friend. Apparently, the ancients used this temple to get high. But after a few bad trips, the temple killed them, and now I have to kill the temple. We easily enter using 4 crops, and honestly, this is the coolest designed temple so far. Dude, it looks like every skater's bedroom in the early 2000s. We are at a type disadvantage here, with my team being very weak to poison, but it does feel like we're a bit over-leveled. Rewarded with an incredibly fun boomerang, we make our way through the offerings with ease. Surprisingly, we managed to have everything we'd need and more. We reach the top top of the temple and the mushrooms shake as a huge snapdragon falls from the sky, immediately poisoning our entire team. Gilmon is almost certainly doomed, and even Fat Joe is in bad shape. If this fight lasts even 2 turns, our entire team will die. Unfortunately for them, Fat Joe takes this personally, and his next turn becomes aggressively overpowered, not just killing both ads, but the boss as well. Before we can even pick up the false seal or react, Gilmon, dripping with poison, roars bloodily. The sky cracks, the moon eclipses the sun, power shakes the temple, and he explodes into a dragon. Oh my god, he's fine. He's red. He's actually like Gilmon. We grab the poison seal, high-five Waldo, and with so much left in the day, decide to tackle another dungeon, where we do some amazing dodging. Please cut this. And learn that Gilmon is now a dual fire and earth type, and has a new passive ability that every 3 turns he rages, doing extra damage like before, but now he also applies a stack of burn to the enemy equal to his power, which means they take 25 damage every turn, and that is doubled every 3 turns. What a terrifying creature we have created. This prompts me to check Fat Joe's new ability, as before he just went intangible every 3 turns. However, now when someone is about to die, they instead go intangible and get healed, which is even more overpowered. We wipe the boss and head home, excited to find out what Gilgamesh can do one day. On day 62, I'm forced to admit our spirit barn is getting a little out of hand. There are too many to organize it anymore, and it's only going to get worse because I'm brewing taming potions and heading for the Dark Continent today. My chests are also being overrun with spirit poo, so I decide to just sell everything, and that gives me $33,000. I interrupt Cleo, who is trying to read, to tell her how rich I am, and she gets very annoyed at me. So I go to see Farah, who is talking about soup again. I blurt out that she has a great ass, and it goes down so well that we plan our first date at the tavern tomorrow at 8 p.m. To celebrate, we grab our 6 new taming potions and head to the Dark Continent. I'm immediately attacked by an elite spirit that I can't tame, and potentially I might not even be able to beat. We take out his easier to beat minion and then begin using careful card manipulation to bounce a crush into our hand, which will do a massive 700 damage to the dizzied elite. From there, we triple our energy, play momentum, but don't manage to go infinite quite yet. Instead, we use a blindfold to juggle an expensive but powerful avalanche card to the top of our deck, redraw it so it costs 0, and blow the elite that was twice our level away. Look, I'm gonna explain that in detail in the edit, but I don't think you guys are gonna understand that that might have been the best play I've ever done in this entire game. With my entire team still on full health thanks to Gilgamesh's heals, we continue battling and use nearly all our potions to tame one more dark spirit. This time it's some sort of cat eel with one eye. Gilmon levels up and we gain a new card that does 168 damage to one target, and himself, called Explode, which would likely kill Gilmon every time unless, we had some sort of fat fish who prevented death. We spend the rest of the day easily wiping the floor with level 60 plus spirits, including this coffee cup, before heading home, saying hello to Ribeye and passing out in bed. We have become truly overpowered. It's the day of our big date and I want it to go perfectly. Thankfully, I receive a letter from her saying she's always wanted a bearded pink rabbit, which I can do. So on the morning of the 63rd day, I give Farah her favorite flower, a giant pink rabbit, and I've nearly maxed her hearts out before even going on a single date. She also gives me a recipe for a better, more efficient furnace, so to repay the favor, I tell her that her ass is great twice and that I love her personality, maxing out our hearts entirely. Feeling great and terrified of passing out or missing the date, I decide to spend the day finishing off potion quests for Dad, growing spectre flowers, which are great for taming. Realizing how much I've enjoyed becoming friends with Waldo, Farah, and Zed, I also decide to start maxing out as many villages as I can. And let me tell you now, there are some real freaks in this town. Guyana loves prickly plants from the void, Tobin unsurprisingly loves fish, Paolo will take any crafted furniture you offer, and several members of the town go crazy for beer, just like Osino, who, if I haven't mentioned yet, every time I see her, I have been giving her a beer, which she chugs immediately and says, "This'll help me get through the day." Concerning. This town feels incredibly alive with all the townsfolk walking around with their spirits, and while I'd love to stay here and watch it, it's time for my date. Cozying up by the fire, Farah explains she became a blacksmith because it seemed cool. I don't have the heart to question her understanding of temperature, so I nod along happily. She says she's often bullied by people who think they're stronger than her because she's a woman, and she asks me what I think. I've never been one to play hard to get, especially with a woman who could crush my skull with her thighs, so I say exactly that, and she loves it, telling me she likes that I'm good with my hands, which is confusing because, let's be real, look at me. I head home feeling great about that and unlock a recipe for a Moonstone bracelet, which apparently is used to officially make someone your girlfriend. I guess we have a new goal, which we go to immediately complete on day 64, or we would have had we not been slammed in the head by a drone carrying plans for a cauldron, which I don't care about right now because we have a woman to woo. We craft the bracelet and head straight to see Farah, where I buy 3 iron and upgrade my hoe. I give Rowan a crafted charm worth thousands of dollars, which they love, Paolo gets a bed, and Guyana another prickly plant. It's all going great until I tell her that I went on a date with Farah last night, and suddenly, She doesn't want to talk to me. I buy a rubber mat off Paolo to stop me slipping over at the kitchen, this lamp for my bedroom, and this giant industrial light bulb because I feel bad for him. I place everything down and decide the best place for my new industrial light bulb is by the end of the bed. Yep. Perfect. For the first time in 64 days, I check my compendium and see that I've managed to collect every single psychic and water spirit. I also realize the total spirit number includes evolutions, which was never my plan, and I'm saying right now, I am not evolving them all, just the core team. That said, I do want to fill out every other type of spirit, so I spend the entire day traveling between islands taming what I can. Like this little doggy, big doggy, red car, giant flaming demon from hell, and as I do all of that, Waldo must sense I only have one beer left because he appears and immediately asks for it. Knowing I finished Psychic and Water, I begin trying to specifically farm and hatch the other types of eggs in our barn, and then go to sleep in front of my new giant industrial light bulb. I can't wait to show Farah this one day. Nothing really happens on day 65. Zed thanks me for killing a dark spirit, teaching me to make a spirit brush, and gives me a mission to see every spirit ever. Brother, I am way ahead of you. We're in need of Moonstone and a lot more iron and copper, so we spend the entire day mining, ending up with 50 of each. As I go to leave, I pop up directly inside a Psychic Storm, which I don't care about, and go hunting for Moonstones instead, finding a whopping 0 before passing out in our emergency tent. We leave our tent on day 66 and head home to find our blue balls are ready for harvesting. Some of these had bonus fertilizer, but most didn't, and by the time we're done tugging these off, we have 157 normal and 49 fertilized, totaling at 57,000 experience from one harvest. And that will happen again in 7 days without even needing to replant them. I level up Gilmon from level 40 all the way to level 50, putting all 10 stat points into power to buff that passive of his. Inside our barn, I find a few new eggs and begin using the spirit brush to try boost their egg production. I cook some more spirit spawning food and head out to go hunting. Immediately I get distracted and go mining instead for some reason, but it all works out because I find a spirit I've never seen called a Gemlin. I tame him and I start to wonder if there are spirits you can only find underground. That would make this challenge far more difficult, especially because I still refuse to Google. I'll just have to start checking the mines more often for safety, but I get distracted and pass out on the floor. I wake up in Waldo's bed and immediately chug spirit poo soup, spilling it all over his sheets. I decide to visit the mines on every type of island, which pays off immediately as I find a poison spirit called a Trunkle, who I have never seen before. I also tame a snap plant, who is a smaller version of the Fall Temple boss. Back in town, I try give Guyana a present, but she immediately tells me to get the fuck out. I ignore her, buy a few plants, and she really changes her tune after I give her a gift. Osino tries to give me more cooking quests, so I immediately buy her a beer and run while she's distracted chugging it. My girlfriend is a bit sloshed and talking about soup again, but what's new? I drop by the spirit barn to see a new spirit I didn't have called a Punchy Pot has hatched. We decorate our house with our new plants and check the compendium to see we're making a lot more progress. So much so that we unlock the skill tree for Spirit Egg, making more eggs drop in the barn. A bit more and we unlock Spirit Hatcher, which makes them hatch a day earlier as well. It's the day before the best day ever and I get told my dad's birthday is coming up, so I'll need to craft him a special potion, which is great because I haven't even looked at crafting the cauldron yet. So I ignore that and go to scour the mines for new spirits. I realize something though, I've never seen a single other Gilmon, which makes me worried I am missing something major that could stop us from finding every non-evolved spirit. Again, I don't want to Google it, but I start to think maybe this will come down to the RNG gods, especially because some islands don't produce mines. For example, I've cleared every tree, rock, and piece of grass from Australia and found nothing. Sadly, I can't burn or salt the earth either, or else I'd be doing that. It's day 69, and the reason today is amazing is because our blue balls are ready for harvest. I could double or even triple the field size, but honestly, I am far too lazy for that. Instead, I clean out the greenhouse and plant entirely blue balls and flag flowers, which are fast-growing taming plants. This past harvest, I got 255 normal will-o-wisps and a single upgraded one that I must have missed somehow, which gives me a total of 63,750 experience, taking Gilmon from level 50 all the way to level 57 and a whopping power total of 38. I've not added many new cards lately to avoid a fat bloated deck, but I did take 4 explosion cards because it felt like the game was really trying to tell me something. With that done, it's now 1 PM. Checking out compendium, we've finished off the poison spirits now, which just leaves us with earth, electric, fire, and dark. I want to hatch more eggs, so I begin my industrial deforestation of the spring temple. When it hits me, isn't there a 4th temple we've never seen? I've scouted every single island now, but have no idea where the 4th seasonal temple is. That's next season's problem though, so we craft our nests, more automatic feeders, and finally decide to craft that cauldron, the potion of abundance for our dad, and ship it off for his birthday. As we head to bed, we remember it's day 70 tomorrow, meaning we have just 30 days to beat 13 dungeons, find dozens of rare spirits, complete another temple, and whatever was going on with Waldo's mirror and that rift. This is the moment where I started to question the relaxing tag this game has on Steam, because man, relaxing sure is stressful. We are woken woken up by the sound of eggs hatching and drone strikes on our home, with Cleo, probably the person I know least in town, asking for a terrifying dark wolf spirit. We head to the barn to find a fire spirit we didn't have before, this flaming genie, and an undead dark cat in a coffin, a casket if you will. But it's time to get serious, and that means dungeons. So we ask Farah on a date, pitching we watch a movie, and we fail. Confused, I walk away as she yells nice butt. The mixed signals are something. We make our way to an electric dungeon, fight our frustration out in a gauntlet of battles, and as the boss appears, Gilgamesh evolves. And really, I mean, he just puts on a jetpack, becomes part fire, and gains the powerful ability to fish through ice. Something I've never seen or been worried about. We quickly destroy the boss and rush for a new dungeon, hoping to get 3 done today. Sadly, the next is deep inside a maze, which I fail at 4 times. Once we manage to find our way, we make it to the boss, and Gilgamesh is immediately nearly killed. Guys, I don't want to, but we might need to swap Gilgamesh out. Fat Joe quickly goes infinite, destroys the boss, and we whistle home to pass out in our tent. With 11 dungeons and what looks like just under 50 spirits to find, we wake up on day 71 and rush to do the most important thing in the game right now, scheduling a hot spring date with Farah. Already at the southern side of the island, I dive into the clouds as she watches on in horror. Making our way to a dungeon, we finally get to use explosion. The terrified enemy looks on, bloody, bleeding, but alive. Psychologically though, he's shaken as a 12-foot tall dragon just used his own body as an explosive device and forced his magical fat fish friend to cheer him on before activating a magical shield to save him on just a thread of life. We may have created something that defies God's plan. We quickly destroy the boss thanks to our type effectiveness and the lack of self-preservation. While I haven't been mentioning it, we are still getting high on tree sap, numbing our body to no longer feel exhaustion. A quick hop, skip, crash away is another dungeon, so we rush there feeling the weight of only a few days left, and a lot to do. Reaching the boss, Gilmon begins to smile in a way that shakes this unfeeling construct to its core, before he glows brighter than the sun, exploding, absolutely obliterating the boss and the entire room, leaving Fat Joe, Gilgamesh, and his burned but intangible body standing amongst the ruins. With that, all of the dungeons in this area I've found are finished, so we whistle home, and upon entering the spirit barn, we're met with a brand new electric spirit called Sparky. Somehow, even this isn't enough to finish the electric spirit list though, which terrifies me into crafting more nests and placing as many new eggs as I can. The final days are bearing down, and there are so many spirits left. We begin sending as many water and psychic spirits to the science center to focus on the missing elements. We also collect 60,000 experience of blue ball steroids, which you might be thinking will go directly to Gilmon, Gilgamesh, or Fat Joe. However, you'd be wrong. I go looking for some easy moonstone at a nearby island, but sadly don't find any. We do, however, find a spirit I've never seen before, this Ghibli-esque chimenea, another one off the list, and the final earth spirit we need apparently. We go to check in on Ribeye, who we haven't seen since day 15, and he's only level 11, but soon he'll be level 40. I pick over 30 poison cards and purely buff his power to boost their damage. With Ribeye back on the team, our goal is to evolve him ASAP, which means we need an Evo Stone and to grind levels. While doing just that, we find some sort of flaming slug and quickly tame them. This has already been one of the most productive days of our spirit collection ever, but it doesn't stop there. Just as we're about to head home for our date, a small chili pepper attacks us. Another off the list. We rush home and head straight to the hot springs for our date with Paolo. Wait, no, sorry. Oh, there she is. At first, I thought this scene would be similar to Penny's in Stardew, but I actually love this so much more, as my buff pink-haired muscle-bound girlfriend saves a bug from drowning, and I get to crack a joke about tiny towels. Damn it, I can't believe just 60 days ago, I hated how forward this woman was. Our eggs have hatched today, but sadly there are no new spirits. On my way through town, I bump into Farah and immediately schedule another date. I invite her to my house. She agrees, and I excitedly leap off the edge of the island. Our goal today is to smash our way through 3 dungeons in the far west, but the first dungeon is absolutely brutal, with Electric being strong against Fat Joe now, and the boss taking advantage of that, forcing us to play defensive. But on our first real turn, Ribeye manages to stack 123 poison that melts the boss from the inside out within 2 turns. Rushing to the next island, it requires a ladder plant, something I refuse to carry in my very open and roomy inventory. We rush to the third instead, which is a teleporter maze. Yay. Skipping straight to the boss, I need you to agree not to ask how long I was in this dungeon. Thankfully, the maze did frustrate our team so much so that they aggressively began using tactics that I'm pretty sure are against the Geneva Convention, poisoning and lighting the boss on fire, then watching as he suffers and eventually is nothing but ash and acid, which is also the name of our new spirit metal band. Exiting the dungeon, we're directly inside a psychic storm, so with much jubilation, beginning begin murdering these majestic spirits for an Evo Stone. And on our first fight, we're told our inventory is too full for the Evo Stone that dropped. I want to die. While here we see something majestic and terrifying, a wild Gilmon, and immediately run as this wild version is far stronger than us, nearly destroying us in a single turn. And in my panic, I accidentally pass out. Bye Waldo. With just 7 more dungeons left, things are going to become brutal. Most of these dungeons are on the outer edge of the map, meaning the spirits won't just be higher level, but rarer with exceedingly more powerful cards. Instead of facing that, I pick off one of the few dungeons left on the inner circle with ease, making me overconfident. I decide to take on one of the outer rim. With every fight being aggressively close, I tactically advance away from the enemy because Farah is waiting for us. I realize the date is actually at her house and not mine, which makes sense as to why she turned me down earlier in the week, because I presumptuously asked to come over to her house for a movie. I promised to take her flying one day, withholding the fact I've crashed several times, and she in exchange invites me to sleep over, which you know what that means. Diddy Kong Racing on the Nintendo 64 all night long. She wakes me up by calling me sweet stuff. Damn it, I'm gonna marry this woman. We check our spirits and sadly there are 0 new eggs, so we place down the dungeon egg drops and collect our crops, which takes us until 5 PM at night. We drop by the pub and Osino asks rhetorically why she's so tired as I hand her daily gift of beer. And force feed Ribeye another 60,000 experience, leveling him from 40 to 52. With no time left today, I decide to finish off Osino's cooking quests, where I make Farah's mystery soup and Paolo's spooky pastry, which apparently permanently buffs spirit stats. An awesome mechanic I'm never going to use. Another day with no new spirit eggs. I'm not angry, guys. I'm just disappointed in all of you. This many in close quarters and nobody's pregnant? Really? I've watched Big Brother. I've watched Survivor. I know someone in here is banging. We drop off some soup to my girlfriend and she is genuinely happier than I've ever seen her, which says a lot about her and my ability as a boyfriend. We also give Paolo his pie and buy a phallic crystal, some champagne, and a cutting board. Man, this is a recipe for a good night right here. We head home to grab our ladder seed for the dungeon we couldn't enter, but despite saying that out loud to myself, I simply just didn't do it, and instead head to the dungeon we had just fled from. But this bites us in the ass as a weakened Gilmon and Fat Joe are taken out nearly immediately in an elite fight. Ribeye alone begins spamming poison 40, 60, 80, 106 stacks. Thanks to his passive, when one enemy dies, the poison stack jumps to another. Entirely alone, our little frog just destroyed this fight. But we're forced to retreat home. These outer edge dungeons are completely stopping our progress, and at this rate, we won't finish the challenge. It's clear my deck has become far too big, just like at the start of the challenge, leaving us with 2 options. Carefully cleanse our deck, or aggressively and unashamedly force feed Fat Joe until he is so strong that nothing can stand against him. I wonder which I'm gonna choose. On the morning of day 77, I'm told not to forget about the cooking contest, which thankfully you can't forget something you didn't know was happening. More importantly, we grab a ladder seed and head straight to the only dungeon left in the inner rim. But the spirits have begun a new strategy of phasing through walls to distract me, causing me to fall into the abyss. We easily defeat the boss and begin heading home, only to find 2 new dungeons we hadn't found before, both completely on the edge of the map, meaning they're the same difficulty as the ones we've been forced to retreat from 3 times now. At home, the cooking contest starts, and I'll admit I didn't cook anything for it, instead choosing to cook spirit poo rice, assuming I'll be laughed out of the contest until I realize my girlfriend is serving literal coal from her furnace, and Tobin is serving cold fish and chips. I think we might be okay. Except no, apparently Tobin wins with cold fish and soggy chips. Man, this shit is rigged. My dish has literal spirit poo in it. Another day and we have no new spirits despite almost all of our eggs hatching. I am getting a bit frustrated by the constant animations while harvesting and brushing spirits, so I checked the settings to see if I could turn them off and see this. Hold shift to sprint. What? What the fuck? You can sprint. Oh my god. I have spent 80 fucking days in this game. I'm being beaten, chased, and killed by spirits. I've rushed to get to shops on time. I've needed to fucking sprint. Are you kidding me? Anyway, watch as Fat Joe breathes in 250 blue testicular-like steroids, taking him from level 45 to 54 before sprinting to see our girlfriend and invite myself to her house for another date tomorrow. We then sprint to the edge of the island and hurry to the only dungeon left on the inner layer, which we crush as if it was nothing. Rather than confidence, this hammers home just how utterly brutal the jump between this and the next few dungeons truly is. Day 79 is a beautiful day to be let down by our spirits who refuse to hatch anything new. I'm starting to be concerned that maybe the last few poison, fire, and electric we need aren't actually hatchable. We place down whatever eggs we can before brewing potions to buff our spirits' vitality, power, and speed, and while these brew, we head to the Dark Continent to try tame Cleo, her dark wolf, but immediately get distracted by this amazing little guy. Bongo! I want Bongo! Wait, no, I need Bongo. We do also find Cleo her spirit and spend a long time grinding to get Ribeye his evolution experience before sprinting home and placing a new dark egg down. We then sprint to Ferris for our date, where because I am so fucking fast now, I am an hour early. So I stand outside unmoving, holding a single beer as she checks outside her window, scared and confused every few minutes. I head inside to cook her dinner, and when asked how I make it taste so good, it takes my entire being not to say I cooked a fishbowl. Instead, I say it's love, which goes down so well that she invites me to stay over and tells me to put on a pair of socks, which we all know what that means. On day 80, I am forced to do the unthinkable. With the new dungeon being mostly fire, I need to swap Ribeye back out for Gilgamesh. He's a lower level, but his water advantage and part fire type will keep us alive longer. We make our way to the northern dungeon that has forced us to retreat, and just like the Viking berserkers we admire, begin taking mind-altering performance-enhancing drugs, and even with all of that, the fights are still incredibly close. We are managing to scrape by, until we see him. We're forced to fight a wild Gilmon who begins tearing us to shreds piece by piece. He kills Fat Joe. He kills Gilgamesh. We are going to die. We bide our time until our passive triggers. We have one chance. Kill him this turn or lose next. In that moment, we draw an avalanche and smash him for 300 damage, barely winning. This fight was brutal, and we have no heals left. Entering the next room, we're stunned by an even stronger version of the exact same fight. This time, in reverse, we bide our time until his passive triggers. He rages, meaning his next turn, he is going to do insane damage. But for now, he also takes extra damage, allowing us to kill him. Barely alive, limping, beaten and bruised, we barely make our way through another 3 fights before reaching the boss. As long as Fat Joe can protect himself or Gilmon from death just once, we have a chance. Gilgamesh is on 1 HP, but has more drugs in his system than ever before, and he immediately takes 1 HP of damage, triggering Fat Joe's passive. Our only lifeline is gone. Making things worse, our first turn cards are utterly terrible, barely doing any damage, removing almost no armor, but somehow we limp through another turn. We nearly go infinite and destroy the boss in just 2 turns, only losing Gilgamesh. With that, we have 2 dungeons left. 1 fire, 1 electric, both outer rim. With only a few hours left, the other fire dungeon is close by, so I decide to test my luck. Barely making it through the maze and finding the boss, our team is badly injured with no way to heal, but we attack either way. And something strange happens. Gilgamesh is immediately saved by Fat Joe, allowing us to do massive damage on our turn. Sadly, this is it. With our lifeline gone, Gilmon and Gilgamesh will die this turn. And just as expected, Gilgamesh goes down. Except, strangely, something happens. Something I've never seen and will never see again. Fat Joe's passive activates again, this time saving Gilmon, and meaning our next turn we pull cards strong enough to end the entire fight. Looking at Fat Joe's ability, this is only meant to activate once a fight, but if it hadn't, we would have lost here and wasted half of tomorrow. Shocked, we head home and barely manage to make it to bed. The morning of day 81, we exit our tree fort before immediately and accidentally going right back up the ladder for the 100th time. I really hope I cut out just how often I do this. With only 19 days left, we still aren't hatching any new spirits. There is no reason to panic though, as I have a lot of new eggs to hatch. That will have to wait though, as it's blue ball harvesting time, and with the final dungeon being electric, we quickly get our froggy friend Ribeye back, and begin dosing him until he is an utterly insane level 60 with 37 power. It feels like we've been neglecting the town a bit lately due to our conquest for blood, so I drop by to see a few people. The local drunk says she's envious of how I hardly work, so I give her a beer and tell her the same joke about mermen 3 times in rapid succession, which she utterly loves. Quill claims to be the strongest on the island, except I don't think he's seen me breaking rocks with a small wooden hammer, or my girlfriend who can crush geodes in her thighs. Speaking of, I have a date with her tomorrow at her house. I'll bring my geodes. I don't want to take on a dungeon the same day as my date, so it's time for the final dungeon. And with our new roided up frog, I'm feeling aggressively confident. Fat Joe tanks a massive first turn, and Ribeye begins stacking utterly bizarre amounts of poison. Another turn passes, and they still haven't broken our armor. As each enemy dies to the poison, it bounces, stacking even higher on the boss before it reaches an insane 305 damage per turn, with a small stack of 40 fire damage for good measure. We don't even need to attack and watch as the boss of the final dungeon melts in front of us. This outer rim nearly destroyed us, but with 19 days left and the ability to endlessly dose our team with 60 60,000 experience, we quickly rose above it. Stepping outside, we're rewarded with a psychic storm. Continuing our bloodlust in the name of evolution stones, and after hours of murder, we decide to whistle home with 3 new stones. Sadly, even with the ability to sprint, we pass out in front of our tent, and we're confronted with something unexpected. 29 out of 30. Wait, that wasn't the last dungeon? I'm missing one? That's right. Somehow we've missed an entire dungeon. But what's even stranger, there is still one more temple that we've never seen despite scouting every island. Confused, I head into my spirit barn and find an adorable little cactus I've never seen before. And with that, my fire compendium says it's finished. Moving all of the fire spirits we can to the science center to focus on dark and electric eggs, I decide it's time to find our missing islands. We see a few small gaps in the map that could be hiding an island, which thankfully they're also not on the outer rim. So despite having an important date tonight, we rush off to try smash them out. We quickly find the dungeon, but the sun is setting, and even worse, inside hides our arch nemesis, a maze. We're forced to whistle home, refusing to miss our date, but we'll be back tomorrow. I put on Farah's special socks as she opens up about how she's easily distracted, can't sit still, and always struggling to focus, but says I have helped her slow down a lot. And like every man in existence, I take this moment of vulnerability as a sign I'm supposed to kiss her, which she loves. Fellas, if that's not a lesson right there for you, I don't know what is. Sadly, the socks cause a static shock, so she tells me to put on the rubber ones and stay the night, which I know sounds weird, but trust me, they're literally rubber socks. Next morning, we leave Ferris to do some work on the farm and continue to be let down by our spirit's ability to lay eggs. If this keeps up, we'll be hatching 1 egg every 3 days, which isn't enough. Rather than worry, we slowly fly against the wind literally all day to reach the dungeon, which we quickly destroy in what can only be called sad and unfair. We're rewarded with the final drop of tree sap we'll ever have, and far more importantly, a single electric egg. We spend the rest of the day fighting dark spirits in hopes of finding a new spirit we haven't seen. These fights are incredibly brutal, and at some point we must have gifted Rowan our dark charm because we're taking an immense amount of damage by being this close to the rift. Spending all day on the verge of death, the pain drives Ribeye over the edge and the sky cracks open. The moon blinks as the rift shudders, and then a small car appears and Ribeye starts to drive it around. I love him. With that, we head home and continue brushing all our important spirits in hopes they drop extra eggs. We only have 2 electric eggs right now, and it takes 3 to 4 days to hatch them, so our odds of finishing this off are getting lower and lower every day that passes. The final day of fall is here. Having had to brutally fight my way through this season, I am ready for the change. But for now, we have 1 more harvest of blue balls, and as we do that, we get a letter from Osino explaining her basement is actually built on a cursed ground, originally built by a rift-worshipping death cult, and suddenly I understand why this woman drinks every day. Our final harvest is done, spirits are brushed, so we grab Wolfsbane and drop him off to Cleo before dosing Fat Joe from level 57 to 63. It being the last day and a whole new season about to begin, I decide to tidy my chests and think back to all the electric eggs I chose to use in my cooking recipes over the last 84 days. With a new season on its way, I hate how our home looks after so much deforestation, so I plant over 150 trees, completely forgetting you can't walk through them. And at 2 AM, completely unable to make it back to my base, I'm exhausted, and to end the season, I fall to the ground. Can we cut that? It's winter! Unsure what to expect, I'm greeted with a letter from Ophelia explaining rare winter spirits can now appear on beach and earth islands, and our magical MILF asks nicely for one, which I am happy to do. The town is beautiful in the winter season, and my girlfriend appears to have a cold, but that doesn't stop me setting up a date. And hey, since you have a cold, let's just go to your house. What do you mean I never take you anywhere nice anymore? Ignoring that, we head off in search of winter spirits, seeds, and the final temple that we somehow still have never seen. We managed to collect nearly every seed with just psychic left, but while being burned to death by the void, the world bends to our will and a storm appears on top of us, giving us the last seeds we need for winter, with one being called a gift plant that apparently gives the most experience in the game. Here we go again. Strangely, we don't see a single winter spirit today, which is incredibly disappointing. Ophelia thanks us for the seeds on the morning of day 86, but it looks like we're actually missing one. So after confirming there are no new spirits hatched, we head off to find our missing seed, and as I'm searching, the creepiest little fucker I've ever seen in my life runs by. What the fuck? That's literally what I'd see outside my window as a kid. It used to try lure me into the woods. I swear guys, it is identical. It is easily tamed, almost as if it wants to follow me home. We can't go much further because we do have a date tonight, but thankfully don't have to as we find a very sensual looking sap plant nearby. We hurry home and just as our date is about to start, I see Farah stood outside on a bridge. Oh, no wonder you've got a cold. Also, did you forget about our date? We walk home together where she confesses that she loves me and says she's mine, warts and all, before panicking and trying to pretend she doesn't actually have any warts, except except I've seen her naked and know her back is covered in them. Wanting to change the conversation, she asks if she can try find my birthmark. I awkwardly agree despite knowing she won't succeed since I wasn't born. Instead, I burst from the ground one day as a baby and was found by my parents. I hurry home early in the morning of day 87 while Ferret is still asleep and find a letter from my mum teaching me how to build wedding rings. This is it. It's finally happening. I craft the ring and decide to propose, but before I can, I check the barn to see my final eggs have hatched, and there is nothing new here. I swear on day 100, I'm going to Google the final electric spirit I need, and if they are egg-based, I'm going to be very angry. Our creepy little man child snatcher has taken a shit on the floor, which I drop off to Zed, and I've never seen a man happier than when I handed him the final poo for his poo museum. That is a series of words I never thought I would say. Looking at my compendium, it finally hits me. There is an entire new category of winter spirits. With just 12 days left, what seemed like a straightforward task just got harder. Speaking of getting hard, I'm engaged! We set the wedding for a Sunday because it's the most romantic day, and none of the shops are open that day anyway. Before heading off in search of the final temple, and as I'm about to give up, I find it, the winter temple, hidden in a small pocket between islands. Waldo appears with his rare fishbow and explains it's the electric temple. I use a few plants in my inventory to unlock the door to be met with one of the coolest designs in the entire game. I mean, this is aesthetic as hell, wow. The enemies are strong, but unlike us seem to be all natty. We easily take them down and are rewarded with a teleporter, and more importantly, an electric egg. Teleporting to the next offering, I'm blocked from progressing as I need a cinderfish and a beacon, two things I have never heard of. But cinder sounds hot, so we head to a nearby fire island to fish, where we catch dozens of boots. I give up and check my quest to see if there's something else I can do today for an easy win before reading that cinderfish are actually in another quest. One I got all the way back on day 5, and they're insanely rare because they're mythical. I wonder if I can get performance enhancing fishing drugs from the town shop, but sadly it's closed, so I craft a beacon, grab a moonstone, and I assume I'll also need a spark before heading to bed. It's a beautiful and cold morning on day 88 where I receive a letter from my dad inviting me to my own wedding, which makes me realize I never contacted either of my parents about the wedding. Horrifically, that means Farah somehow met my parents without me. Not weird at all. We drop by Rowan's to buy 200 gift plant seeds and XP boosting fertilizer, then head home to find out you can't plant seeds, even winter ones, outdoor in the winter. So we swap our greenhouse out instead. Tobin is open today and sells mythical lures for $1,000. Unsure how they work, I buy 15 for safety, because if you hadn't noticed, I've been loaded for a long time now. On my way back home, we stop off to buy a chair from Polo, which we give back to him as a gift nearly immediately. He asks if I made it myself, I nod awkwardly, and he's extremely impressed. He is not a bright man. We head to the nearest fire island, equip our lure, and wait. I get bored literally 20 seconds in and try a different spot, slightly to the left, which works immediately as we catch our cinderfish. In fact, we catch a lot of them as gifts for Tobin before heading home and feeding Gilmon the last of our blue testicular plants, which to be honest don't do much for him anymore. So I am eager for these gift plants to grow, and I'm hoping they give at least 500 XP. Landing at the temple bright and early on day 89, we enter, hand in our offerings, and immediately jump onto our next fight. It is a bloodbath as I light them on fire, poison them, and then use card cycling to loop that until they die all on turn 1. And all of that before stealing their unhatched young. We hand over our next offering, and before we can marvel at the temple's design, a giant electrical ball appears and attacks, which makes me realize each temple boss you fight becomes a spirit you could find in the wild only after beating them. And somehow we hatched this boss months ago. Distracted thinking about this, I didn't realize the boss was ticking every few seconds, increasing the energy cost of our cards. And by the time I do realize, I can't play anything. If I don't do something next turn and fast, this might get bad even though we have such a huge level advantage. So we quickly start poisoning them before setting Gilmon on them with a series of earthquakes, allowing the minions to die. The poison bounces between them, eventually landing on and killing the boss. Clearing the final temple, we're rewarded with the final seal, and again, more importantly, an electric egg. Before we can head home to hatch it, Waldo appears to say the rift can finally be closed using all 4 seals. I can save the world. With my wedding coming up, I don't want the world ending, so we should probably do that. But the wind is going against me and I just want to hatch these eggs, so instead we fly home in hope of boosting video retention for just a few more days. Hatching eggs. I want to hatch eggs. We whistle home and place our eggs down. The creepy little dude reminds me we desperately need to start focusing on snow spirits, so we chug spirit poo rice and start throwing fruit on the ground. But before anything can spawn, Waldo appears and pressures me into closing the rift. Alright, I'll go, Jesus. And this is a big mistake. We place the earth seal on the pedestal. The ground shakes, the rift shudders, but we can't stop now. The water seal slides into place, the rift seemingly fights back. A crash of black lightning. The poison seal is placed, seemingly nothing happens. Has it weakened enough? Will we do this without a fight? The electric seal slots into its pedestal and the rift begins to close. But in the final moments, a horrifying beast begins to claw its way free, immediately setting itself on our team and lowering them all to 1 HP and starting one of the best songs in the game. With only a few heals in my inventory and no buffs on my team yet, it hits me. Oh shit, this is something I was meant to like prepare for. I pop what heals I've scavenged earlier in the day and begin trying to do some sort of damage, but our first turn barely makes a dent. The boss, Missing No, summons horrific dark puppets to his side. Thankfully, Washo was able to take one out, but Missing No curses us, and the puppet sets up a block that stops our poison strategy. We add what poison we can to the boss, but this isn't looking good as he drops our entire team to 1 health again. We use our last heal on Gilmon, who manages to take out another dark puppet, forcing the boss to switch his move to summon more next turn instead of his attack that would have certainly killed Fat Joe and Ribeye. Next turn, we instantly triple our energy, begin drawing cards, where we get more energy and more poison. We stack the boss with 183 damage, but ran out of cards to play. With so much energy left, I desperately check our plants and find a few new ones I didn't know I had that let me heal Ribeye and Fat Joe, just in time to tank another massive set of hits. With no heals left, we know that if the fight draws on much longer, we're doomed. So we begin stacking as much poison as we can. It bounces between the enemies, landing on the boss and burns him from the inside out. This fight could have ended with us dying completely, but we've done it. Waldo appears at a loss for words. He says he finally feels normal again, thanking me, but apologizing that he is the only one who knows what I've done for the world, saying I restored balance to nature, which clearly he hasn't seen what I've done to some of these islands. He vanishes, leaving me stranded on the edge of the map without a way home, forcing us to slowly fly all the way back. Thankfully, we find a few winter spirits on the way, which we tame and even get an egg. We make it home, place it down, and head to bed. We wake up to a message saying a spirit has hatched, and once again we're let down by it being nothing important. Thankfully, our mood improves when Waldo sends us a moonstone machine, which produces 1 moonstone per day. And even better, we find another electric egg to place down. All hope is not lost yet. Getting annoyed at my chest and knowing the end is near, I sell 50 dream drops, 30 dark matter, and 120 sparks, giving me 130,000 gold. But if you thought that was cool, even better is that Waldo now lives on our island and can be found walking around with that rare fishbow. Oh, that's so cool. I love him. I decide to spend the entire day hunting down winter spirits for sport. We chug some spirit poo and rice, then make our way to the furthest away Earth Island I can, hoping to increase not just how many will spawn in battle, but the rarity as well. This, shockingly, works. We tamed dozens of spirits today and fought hundreds over and over. Sadly, we're still missing something. Frustrated, I am about to leave when I see it. A strange Yeti creature appears. We tame the rare spirit, check the compendium, and despite so many new spirits tamed, we are missing even more. I begin to worry it could be egg-based or only spawn in caves or certain islands or certain times of day. Except with only 9 days left, there is no way I can test all the different options. We whistle home and make it to bed thanks to our ability to sprint. Except I realize I need to place my eggs down, so I jump out of bed and hurry back to the barn. We get them down but pass out on the floor the night before our wedding. I guess my bachelor party is going to be a wild one. Before I can do anything, my spirits begin tearing my clothes off. Don't worry, they put new ones on. Turns out the entirety of day 91 is my wedding. Yes, in this incredibly difficult challenge, I am losing an entire day in the most important last few days to a wedding. But before I can worry about that, I notice that not just my spirits, but the beardini I gave Farah are in the wedding party. Meaning I completely miss what my father is saying in his speech because I'm too distracted by the giant pink rabbit taking a shit on the floor. That said, it looks like my mother is cheering for it to keep going. At the reception, I check in with the villagers and realize they're almost all wearing white to my wedding, which really bothers me. And I'm about to lose it until I see Waldo, who looks amazing, and also points out to me that my vows were the first time he'd heard me speak. Before I can reply, I see that even Zed chose to wear white, and I storm off from the wedding. Realize I probably shouldn't leave without my wife, so I go back to get her. I know it's my wedding night, but I can't stop thinking about how glad I am that I got those ice eggs down last night. I wake up at 6 AM to see my wife sat on the end of the bed, staring at my giant industrial light bulb, eating soup, and realize this is truly the life I have been dreaming of since day one. Heading outside, I find a letter from Rowan that is actually quite sweet and genuinely makes me tear up a bit. They thank me for helping match spirits with the townsfolk and ask if they could have whatever spirit I think fits them best. I prepare for disappointment as I enter the barn, but I'm shocked to see not one, but 2 evil puppets. Is this it? Is this the final dark spirit? No. There are only 8 days left and we still need electric, dark, and winter. Rather than focus on that, we head to Paolo's to complete a different goal we set out for ourselves. I buy nearly 2,500 wood, 2,000 stone, and every single upgrade left for our house, in total spending near 225,000 gold. We have to sell the rest of our psychic and fire poo to fund the final expansions, but on day 92, our home, greenhouse, and spirit barn are completely upgraded. And after this utterly baffling display of wealth, I hand Paolo a single log from my inventory, and this simple, beautiful man absolutely loves it. With the day slowly wrapping up, I decide to go hunting for the last few winter spirits. We spend the entire night on the furthest water island I can find, but don't see a single winter spirit until 1 AM. An elite spawns, a simple Bonguin, who we already have, but backing him up is something we've never seen, a Grampus. An elderly whale. We quickly tame him, send him to the science center, and murder his friends. Checking the compendium, he was the last winter spirit we needed. With 7 days left to go, all that's left now is dark and electric. Can we do this? It is crucial we spend today on the Dark Islands hunting for whatever is left, and that means, of course, we get distracted. Giving Waldo a beer at 6 AM and dropping off Ophelia, the cool older woman with a winter spirit I think perfectly matches her. What? He's cute, older, and graceful. Okay, well look at the way he moves, maybe not graceful. With only Rowan left, it's time to finish the matchmaker quest. They organized this entire thing. It was so sweet, so kind, telling everyone to reach out to me, pretending I had agreed to any of this before they did, quietly pulling the strings of the townsfolk, controlling them all like a puppet master. Hey, how about you try sleeping with this literal demon standing over your bed, Rowan? Also, I renamed it Piedmon, so it's even worse for those who get it. This was meant to be awful, but turns out Rowan loves them and gives me dancing shoes. Look at me go! Oh, Gilmore, get out of the way, damn it. Since time is of the essence and I desperately need to be hunting dark and electric spirits, I take a casual tour through my home. The front looks lovely, but the back room, attic, and this insane basement are a bit empty. No idea what to fill it with, we head off to collect eggs, and we are successful getting 2 electric eggs. On day 94, I can't find my wife anywhere, which makes sense because our home has turned into the back rooms. In town, we see Rowan walking around with their horrific puppet, which I'm sure the others in town just love, and scrolling through my hearts, I'm pretty happy with how I've done, but with only a few days left, decide to get the core group even higher. I do feel a bit let down that I didn't get to know the other villagers very well though. The thing is, I didn't want to ask them on dates because it felt like cheating on Farah, but without the dates, you miss out on a lot of their backstory. Either way, with 4 electric eggs and 1 more dark egg cooking, we brew a few tame potions and head to the Dark Continent. We spend the entire day there fighting for nothing. They drop eggs, but the RNG of eggs feels impossible at this point, and I begin to leave. That's when it appears. Fangface, a spirit I've never seen. We kill his friends and he quickly joins our team. Checking the compendium, that's all we needed for dark. Now, all that's left is the electric spirits. But before we can wrap the day up, Osno asks us to cook Waldo and Ophelia's secret recipes. Ophelia's is fairly normal, but upon closer inspection, it looks like Waldo wants 3 icicles covered in sugar. And suddenly, I understand him on a deeper level. We spend the rest of the day brushing spirits and terrify the last electric one won't be hatchable and instead is found somewhere I've never seen. But I can't control that, so our egg obsession continues. Another morning, another spirit has hatched notification to leave us disappointed, but at least my wife is once again eating beef stew while staring at the giant industrial light bulb. I can't help but feel everything will be okay. We brush our spirits and check the greenhouse to see our gift plants still haven't grown after 7 days, which is wild. We spend the rest of the day continuing to gift townsfolk. I give Waldo his vague idea of ice cream, which he loves, and it takes me a while to track down Ophelia, but when I do, she's at the same place I met her, using magical powers to meditate herself into the sky. But this time, she has a geriatric whale with her. And on our way to bed, we find the 21 treasure maps that we have never even attempted, and for a moment, feel tempted to start. Nah. With 4 days left, time is of the essence, so we ask our wife to go on a date at the hot springs, just like our first date, before heading off in search of electric eggs. Before we can get far, a drone slams into our head, nearly killing us, and saying Osno had planned a "you closed the rift party tonight." That's neat, but I thought only Waldo knew we did that. Inside the barn, we find 2 more eggs. With this, it means we have 5 chances left to hatch the spirit we need. And today is the final day we can place them down if we want them to hatch before the challenge ends. It all comes down to this. Looking at the compendium, I'm so proud of how many spirits we've catalogued, and before anyone comments it, I never said I'd get the evolutions. Shut up. As I do my rounds, we get a few villages up to 8 hearts and see a gold fishbow statue I desperately need. $1 million? No, that's 1,666 dream drops. I'm not doing that. We decorate our back room so Farah has a place to work before heading off to the rift party, and after talking to everyone here, I realize half of them had no idea the world-ending rift even existed, and the other half knew, but just didn't care. If this isn't the most accurate depiction of the real world I have ever seen, then I don't know what is. I awkwardly dance all alone and leave confused as if I'm missing something. After all, there is no cake, no beer, or anything nice. And as I begin to head to bed, a screen appears that says, my life's work is over and my new life can begin. I don't know what the fuck that's talking about. My life's work is apparently hatching eggs and crying daily. But shit, maybe it knows something I don't. Maybe tomorrow is the big day. Unlikely, Jesus. As I finish my rant, I am greeted with a pop-up. A spirit has in fact hatched. In no rush, I lazily walk past my wife and her beef stew, knowing there is no hope anymore. We enter the spirit barn and feel devoid of all happiness. And with just 3 days left till the challenge ends, this happens. Oh my god! Is that it? This fucking bird? Oh, I mean, yeah, that's cool, whatever. And with that, on day 97, we have officially caught every single spirit, as was our challenge. And if a single person brings up the evolutions in the comments, I'll come for you, and it will look like an accident. Our crops still aren't ready, which makes me think they won't be done before day 100, and after looking at our hearts, it seems we have maxed everyone's gifts this week. Don't look at them. With nothing to do, we take a nap and get ready for our date tonight. Just like old times, we kick Paolo out of the hot spring and dive in with our wife. She immediately explains that all the stars in the sky are dead and says it's time to get out. I'll admit, not one of our top 3 dates. Day 98 and we're so close to the end, but it's not over yet. Today, we're opening the hatch. Alright, yeah, it's a bit spooky in here. Turns out the dungeon is a roguelike, endlessly scaling gauntlet of battles that reward lots of evolution experience and drop incredibly rare items like Evo Stones. And as I say this, I remind you again, it will look like an accident. We spend the day in here fighting spirits, biblically accurate angels, and D&D dice. But truthfully, I got bored of how easy it was and decided to head home to my beef stew loving wife, who is happily kicking her feet staring at the giant industrial light bulb again. Something might be wrong with her, but hey, through sickness and health. On the penultimate day, I rush to the barn and realize I don't need to be here. There is nothing left to hatch. The greenhouse isn't done yet, so we spend the entire day gifting and talking to villagers, and then buy this giant iron chain from Paolo and use it to flirt with Waldo. Don't tell my wife. We finally max out Zed's hearts and spend some time decorating our house before heading to bed for the final day. Opening our eyes on the final day, the first thing we do is tell my wife she has a great butt. We collect our spirit poo one last time and see the crops still aren't ready. We spend the morning raising the last few hearts we can before going to the place it all began. The mountain where we issued our first challenge. Looking out over the Sky Islands, I remember everything I said I wanted to do, and I felt sad. This isn't how I wanted this to end. Cold and alone by myself. I don't even know if I passed the alchemist test and graduated. No, this isn't how it ends. This challenge is going to end better than this, with fireworks and a party and blackjack. Over the next 12 days, I invite everyone into town to visit the mountain on the same day, making sure to give Rowan and Waldo birthday cakes I cooked for them, which they love. Just kidding, Rowan says they're depressed immediately after I hand it over. And as we are ready to wrap the entire challenge up, the final crops are ready for a total of 166,000 XP, taking Gilmon to level 76. And before we know it, it's time to close our eyes on the second last day of winter. Hoping to get a good night's rest, instead we're met with my mother and father invading my dreams. This is it. My mother says she read my mail without asking and found I graduated not just as an alchemist, but with honors, the highest rank you can get. Apparently, which is even better than her. We wake up and feeling great head to the mountaintop. As always, I arrive half an hour early, but soon find ourselves watching as the sun sets on Moonstone Island, surrounded by friends, family, and Tobin is here, I guess. This is what I wanted. Waldo asks to hold hands and watch the fireworks together, saying loud noises scare him. Sorry, Waldo. There's only one person I want to spend the night with. Not just because she's my wife, but also she made the fireworks, and I don't piss off people who can make explosives. And on day 112, the challenge ends. With every spirit tamed, every dungeon beaten, every temple, every boss, our house, barn, and greenhouse fully upgraded. Every seed collected, Gilmon, Ribeye, Fat Joe, and Gilgamesh evolved. We learned to cook, decorate, and of course, we got married all in 100 days. Subscribe.